Chapter 2180. The boundless starry heavens, the boundless universe, a supercontinent floated in the sky. From a distance, it looked like it was made of 7 golden shards. This supercontinent looked boundlessly vast in the starry heavens, flickering with golden light. The thousands of stars in the surroundings looked like lanterns dotting its surroundings. This was a true supercontinent. Even the stars looked incredibly insignificant before it, like the light of a firefly. What was even more exaggerated was that there seemed to be people using cauldrons to refine stars, using the flames of the stars to forge secret treasures. Occasionally, huge fireballs flickered like meteors on this vast supercontinent. One might think that they were really meteors, but in reality, they were just sparks shot out by blacksmiths during forging. At first glance, the enormous artifact cauldrons were like mountains that stood tall and straight, unending and rising and falling indeterminately. If one had good eyesight, one would be able to count a total of 9,800 cauldrons. These cauldrons lined up on this supercontinent, looking like a coiled ancient dragon. The flames in the cauldrons flickered like day and night alternating. However, this was just the tip of the iceberg on this supercontinent. There were also boundless herb fields and medicine cauldrons belonging to alchemists in the herb field. Aside from refining alchemy and refining blacksmiths, which were the two industries most closely related to cultivators, there were also many other industries. On this supercontinent, everything related to food, clothing, housing, and transportation, everything related to business, could be seen. You could see a grand scene that would make you gasp in amazement. Various major trades intersected with each other, densely packed like ants occupying this supercontinent. However, everything was orderly, busy, but not chaotic. It was like an invisible hand was controlling everything. This was the Heavenly Alliance's headquarters. Even though Shao Chun had seen it from afar before, he still felt incredibly shocked when he saw it again on Mu Zifeng's alloy warship. The alloy warship flew over the Heavenly Alliance's supercontinent, heading for the center. Along the way, the many sceneries that Shao Chun saw left a deep impression on him. Given the alloy warship's startling speed, they flew for half a day before arriving at the center of this supercontinent. There was a sea of clouds there. The floating white clouds looked solid. Many buildings stood on the white clouds, looking very strange. Heaven outside. Shao Chun followed Mu Zifeng down and arrived above the white cloud. Soon he saw a towering mountain gate with the ancient words, Heaven outside, written on it. After you enter this gate, you will enter the core of the Heavenly Alliance's headquarters. Come, I'll bring you in. Mu Zifeng led Shao Chun in, feeling familiar with the place. Along the way, Mu Zifeng performed a cupped fist salute, not daring to ask. Now, the Heaven Alliance is a very complicated organization, and its internal power is in a mess. However, to put it simply, we, the Heavenly Alliance members, exist to protect the interests of the merchant associations under the Heavenly Alliance. You should know that the Heavenly Alliance members exist in the 1,000 great realms. As long as there are cultivators, there will be merchant associations controlled by the Heavenly Alliance. However, as long as there are benefits, there will be disputes. We are responsible for resolving dispute. As Mu Zifeng walked, he explained the Heavenly Alliance's internal structure to Shao Chun. These were things one needed to know to join the Heavenly Alliance. As Heavenly Alliance members, we have nothing to do with those merchant associations. As Mu Zifeng walked, he explained the Heavenly Alliance's internal structure to Shao Chun. However, you have to remember that the Heavenly Alliance is the Heavenly Alliance, and the merchant associations are the merchant associations. Now, we are members of the Heavenly Alliance and have nothing to do with those merchant associations. Even Mu Zifeng felt slightly stunned when he heard that. However, he did not say anything about it. It was more or less the same as what the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor said. Even Mu Zifeng had to make this clear to Shao Chun. As for you, I believe that you are about the same as the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor. You will not have too many thoughts about authority. In fact, you might not even be able to stay in the Heavenly Alliance for long. In that case, you have even less to worry about. Mu Zifeng seemed to be speaking casually. Xiao Chun did not comment, but he did not object. You want to use the Heavenly Alliance's resources to advance your own martial Dao. There are many cultivators like you in the Heavenly Alliance, so you don't have to think too much. The Heavenly Alliance will not give you resources for nothing, nor will it let you work for nothing. Everyone is mutually beneficial. Using each other? Mu Zifeng did not say it out loud. Instead, he changed it to mutually beneficial. Xiao Qin remained indifferent, not paying much attention to this. In the end, this was a super faction established by the merchant associations. Compared to a sect, the Heavenly Alliance lacked a spiritual inheritance, making it hard to integrate. What do I need to do in the Heavenly Alliance? Xiao Qin asked. He saw many people coming and going in heaven outside of heaven. However, they came and went in a hurry, not conversing much with each other, appearing somewhat cold. Mu Zifeng smiled and said, "The Heavenly Alliance has endless problems to deal with. You are new here, so you will have to work harder. Take out your Heavenly Alliance medallion." As promised, Xiao Chun took out the medallion. The back of the medallion showed a vast snowy scene with an indistinct 8-petal plum blossom in the snowy scene. Only one petal lit up. Mu Zifeng smiled faintly and extended his hand. Then, another petal lit up. After lighting up one petal, you are considered a probationary member. After advancing to Sovereign Emperor, you are a formal member and can light up two. In the Heavenly Alliance, you are considered the lowest-ranked member. Before you light up 3-petal, you can only remain in heaven outside of heaven, unable to go anywhere. Mu Zifeng's next words made Xiao Chen's expression change slightly in confusion. How do I light up 3-petal? Contribution. You have to work for the Heavenly Alliance and deal with the Heavenly Alliance's problems. The amount of contribution you obtain depends on the size of the problem. After lighting up 3-petal, you can go in and out freely. However, you still cannot leave the Heavenly Alliance's headquarters. Only after lighting up 4-petal are you truly free. At that time, you can choose to remain in the Heavenly Alliance or leave. Mu Zifeng said after some thought. Back then, the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor entered the Heavenly Alliance with me. After he lit up 4-petal, he chose to leave, becoming an 8-vein Sovereign Emperor. I chose to stay, so you can see that I am now a Cordoyan, a 7-petal Plum Blossom, a 9-vein Sovereign Emperor, a half-god. Xiao Chen entered deep thought. Mu Zifeng's words were a hint to Xiao Chen. If Xiao Chen chose to stay and continue climbing the ranks to enter the Heavenly Alliance's core, he would gain even greater benefits. The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor chose to leave. Now, he was only an 8-vein Sovereign Emperor. However, Xiao Chen was already a 9-vein Sovereign Emperor, a half-god. The two chatted as they walked. Xiao Chen gained a rough understanding of the members who lit up only 2-petal. They did not have much authority in the Heavenly Alliance, only duties. This place had a strict hierarchy and strict order. The higher-ranked members had overwhelming privileges over the lower-ranked members. This was a form of motivation for the Heavenly Alliance's members to work hard to deal with the Heavenly Alliance's problems and raise their status. As for contribution, it was similar to the sect's mission hall. However, in the Heavenly Alliance, one did not have much authority to refuse or choose. The 2-petal members could not even choose their own missions. The Heavenly Alliance had to make arrangements for them. No matter what the mission was, one did not have the authority to refuse. If one completed it, one would be rewarded. If one failed, one would be punished, losing contribution points. As Xiao Chen spoke, he suddenly felt the divine energy sea in his body stir for some reason. Xiao Chen's divine energy sea surged, and his entire body felt indescribably carefree. A great temptation drew him. "This is," Xiao Chen muttered as he looked at a towering mountain in front. The temptation came from this mountain. To think that there was a mountain above the cloud sea. This was a spiritual mountain that contained divinity. The higher one went, the stronger the divinity. One could even see faint divine light overflowing from the shining mountain. At the peak of the mountain, the divine light was so bright that it was somewhat dazzling. This is the Heavenly Divine Mountain. The Heavenly Alliance gathered boundless resources to build this divine mountain. There are boundless benefits for a divine Vane Realm sovereign emperor to cultivate on this mountain. However, you can only stay at the foot of the mountain now and cannot climb it. Mu Zifeng explained softly. After arriving at the foot of the divine mountain, Mu Zifeng got someone to arrange a residence for Xiao Chen. Then he said, "You can stay here first. You can walk around more when you have time. There are no forbidden lands in this heaven beyond heaven. I'll take my leave first." "Lord Mu, take care." Xiao Chen turned his head and looked at his residence. Then, he nodded slightly, feeling satisfied. "Young Master Xiao, do you have any instructions?" As Mu Zifeng had personally brought Xiao Chen over, the old man responsible for the handover did not dare to slight him. Xiao Chen shook his head and said, "No." "All right, I'll go and arrange for servants for young Master Xiao. If you have any instructions in the future, you can come and look for this old man at any time." The gray-clad old man performed a cupped fist salute and took his leave. Arranging for servants is probably a form of monitoring. Xiao Chen sighed in his heart. The Heavenly Alliance is colder than I thought. However, this is understandable. They are not related. How can it be that easy to obtain resources? After entering the residence, Xiao Chen wandered around. This place was much better than his residence in the Heaven Dragon Palace. Aside from the necessities for cultivation, there were all sorts of facilities. This was simply a noble residence. There was even a spirit beast pavilion with all sorts of spirit beasts. After Xiao Chen wandered around, the old man's servants arrived at the entrance of the residence. The leader was a pretty maidservant. Many male and female servants followed behind her, all of them kneeling respectfully. These servants even had all sorts of items placed on top of their heads. "Young Master, this servant Bao will be responsible for young Master's daily life in the Heavenly Alliance." "What is your name?" "This servant is Bao." The pretty maidservant replied softly, feeling somewhat bashful. When Xiao Chen heard that, he became somewhat distracted. Bao. Long ago, he had a maidservant called Bao as well. After that, he did not have another maidservant. This was truly a distant memory. "Young Master?" Bao asked, finding it strange when she saw Xiao Chen in a daze. Xiao Chen recovered his wits and said softly, "I am older than you. Just call me Big Brother Xiao. There is no need to address me as Master." "Alright, Big Brother Xiao. If there are any areas of this residence that require improvement, I'll get the servants to design them for you." Xiao Chen waved his hand and said, "There's no need. Let them in first. They just have to help me tidy up." "Alright." As the group of servants entered in a single file, Xiao Chen looked around, trying to find the eyes and ears of the Heavenly Alliance. However, after thinking about it, he chose to give up. So what if he found them? If he kept his guard up, he might end up attracting more attention. At that time, he would be even more problematic. Chapter 2181. Under Bao-er's arrangements, the group quickly cleaned up the residence. To Xiao Chen, the residence was already very clean. However, after this cleaning, it actually looked brighter. It would not be an exaggeration to say that it looked brand new. The flowers and grass were trimmed, the walls and doors were repainted, and incense lamps were lit in the room. Wherever one went, one could smell a fresh fragrance, making one feel refreshed. Xiao Chen sighed. Having servants and not having servants were indeed two different living environments. "Big Brother Xiao, I have cleaned up the entire residence for you. This herb field has not been developed yet. If you have natural treasures or other spirit herbs, you can replant them here or go to a shop to buy the seeds you need. There are apothecary disciples among the servants who specialize in this. There will also be professionals taking care of those spirit beasts. I guarantee that they will not suffer any losses. Bao bowed slightly and asked, Is Big Brother Xiao satisfied? When Xiao Chen heard that, he entered deep thought. He could put the herb field aside for now. After all, he was not an alchemist. He did not cultivate cultivation techniques that required natural treasures. However, he could think about the spirit beasts first. Xiao Chen had not had the time to take care of the demon blood vulture, basically letting it roam. With professionals taking care of it, it should be better. Who is in charge of rearing the spirit beasts? Xiao Chen asked, and an old man immediately appeared. He knelt before Xiao Chen and said, Little master, this old servant is in charge of the spirit beasts. Just call me Elder Lu. Master, what instructions do you have? Whoosh! A flash of red light appeared, and the demon blood vulture appeared on Xiao Chen's shoulder. Its wings were scarlet, glistening, and exceptionally beautiful. Do you recognize this bird? Elder Lu's eyes lit up as he answered, This is a demon blood vulture. Rumor has it that it lives in the ash-gray sea, one of the 7 great forbidden seas. Its race is isolated from the rest of the world and hard to capture. It feeds on demonic nature and can consume any demonic nature in the world, growing infinitely. If one can activate its bloodline and feed its spirit blood fruits, it might even be able to recover its ancestral blood and become a great desolate and ferocious beast, the blood phoenix. Master, this demon blood vulture is incredible. Its eyes are golden. It must have an extremely noble bloodline in the demon blood vulture race. What's even rarer is that his bloodline seems to have mutated. There's a very good chance that he'll become a blood phoenix. He, of course. My father is the blood vulture king. How can my bloodline not be noble? This old man has good eyesight. I can let him serve me. The demon blood vulture's cocky voice rang out in Xiao Chen's mind. Ignoring it, Xiao Chen sized up the old man and was surprised. He really knew a lot. There were many things that he had never heard of before. However, he still had to continue experimenting. Then, do you know how to nurture the demon blood vulture? Senior Lu smiled and said, This old servant grew up in the beast-taming abode. I spent all my time raising 9,000 kinds of spirit beasts and demonic pets in the world. Although I have never raised a demon blood vulture before, I still know the method. At the side, Bao said softly, Big Brother Xiao, this Uncle Lu is a treasure. Xiao Qin once nurtured an underworld ghost bird into a 9-veined sovereign emperor mutated beast. He was one of the top beast tamers in the Heavenly Alliance. If it wasn't for Lord Mu's order, he wouldn't have come with me. Xiao Qin raised his eyebrows and said softly, My eyesight is poor. I could not tell that Senior Lu was so capable. Sorry for the disrespect. No one in the Heavenly Alliance can be underestimated. What about you? Xiao Chen turned his head to look at Bao and asked her, changing the topic. Bao's expression did not change. She smiled mischievously and said, How can I be capable? I'm just a maid who helps Big Brother Xiao dress and make his bed, serve tea, and pour water. Xiao Chen smiled faintly and did not pursue the matter. He continued, Senior Lu, tell me how to raise this demon blood vulture. Senior Lu nodded and said, That will depend on how much resources Master gives me. If there are enough resources, I will definitely feed it demonic spirit fruits every day and bring it to the blood prison once every half a month. Then, I will go to the Spirit Beast Palace to exchange for cultivation techniques and martial techniques for demonic pet. This will also depend on how Master raises it. You can raise it in all aspects or focus on one attribute, like speed, killing intent, or devouring. The demon blood vulture is a rather well-rounded demonic pet. You can raise it however you want. It will depend on Master's preferences. Xiao Chen thought for a while. This Senior Lu is really knowledgeable. He asked in his heart, Demon blood vulture, are you willing to follow me? I'm already drooling, the answer went without saying. Xiao Chen said, From today on, you will be in charge of raising the demon blood vulture. Don't be stingy with resources. May I ask, what is the currency used for transactions in the Heavenly Alliance? Bao-Er replied softly, any currency in the Heavenly Alliance will do. After all, we are doing business. Spirit jades, primeval heavenly pills, origin liquid, and divine crystals will do. However, we usually use origin liquid. Xiao Chen entered deep thought. Then, he took out the primeval heavenly pills in his storage ring and the 10,000-year-old herb kings he obtained in paradise and handed them to Bao-Er. Help me exchange them for origin liquid. From today on, you will be in charge of all the expenses in the residence. The amount that Xiao Chen took out was a huge sum, especially the 10,000-year-old herb kings. Originally, Xiao Chen intended to use these herb kings for himself. However, there was no point in using them after refining the Thunder Cliff Tree. When Bao-Er received all this, she did not feel shocked at all. Xiao Chen sighed in his heart. Even the servants of the Heavenly Alliance are servants who have seen the world. Big Brother Xiao, thank you for your trust. I will help young master settle this matter within half a day. After Bao-Er counted the items, she agreed without hesitation. In that case, you all can withdraw first. I need to rest for a while. All right. After the group took their leave, Xiao Chen went to a medicinal spring in the residence alone. The spring water surged, and spiritual energy spread everywhere. This was a medicinal spring that the Heavenly Alliance's alchemists specially refined for sovereign emperors. After soaking in it, one could eliminate fatigue, nourish one's mind, and remove hidden injuries. If one spent some origin liquid, one could add in medicinal pills to aid one's cultivation. The warm spring water made Xiao Chen feel exceptionally comfortable as he soaked in it. After he closed his eyes, he actually felt drowsy. After advancing to Sovereign Emperor, cultivators basically did not need to sleep. In fact, they found it very difficult to sleep. If one wanted to rest, one only needed to enter a meditative state. However, falling asleep would be somewhat difficult. Many people even found it impossible to fall asleep. Their spiritual sense would remain somewhat awake. However, in reality, sleep was the best nourishment for sovereign emperors. It was even beneficial to cultivation. There should be spirit herbs for calming the mind in the medicinal spring. Otherwise, it would not be so effective. Xiao Chen did not reject this drowsiness, so he fell asleep. When he woke up, Xiao Chen felt refreshed and full of energy. He looked around and discovered that Bao-Er was already standing across from him, holding a white towel in her hand. Mist wafted out. When looking at Bao-Er, who was not far away, he felt like he was looking at flowers in the mist, a hazy yet intense sense of beauty. Splash! Splash! Bao-Er stood up and splashed the spring water. Then, she walked over and wiped down Xiao Chen's body, then helped him put on his clothes. Xiao Chen did not want to stand out in the Heavenly Alliance. Furthermore, he had nothing else on his mind, so he did not avoid these things and did not refuse. Bao-Er found this somewhat strange. Unexpectedly, there were many scars on Xiao Chen's body. They were not as clean as his delicate facial features. Some of the scars even layered over each other. The crisscrossing scars all over his body looked somewhat sinister and scary. When Bao-Er finished helping Xiao Chen put on his clothes, she still felt somewhat unsettled. How long was I asleep? Big Brother Xiao happened to have slept for a night. I have already completed the task that you instructed me to do yesterday. I exchanged for a total of 50 tons of origin liquid. I gave old Lu half, and the rest is with me. Does young master need it? Not for now. Keep it for me first. Xiao Chen still had 25 tons of origin liquid on him. That was sufficient for regular cultivation. However, he had not opened his first divine vein yet, so he did not need so much origin liquid. All right. After hesitating for a while, Bao-Er said, "Young master had best not cultivate for now. You can continue resting. When the Heavenly Alliance's missions come, you might not have time to rest." I'll listen to you. Hence, aside from occasionally cultivating, Xiao Chun spent the rest of his time wandering around the residence. The residence was very large. There were several places that Xiao Chun had not explored. Now was an opportunity. Only 2 days passed peacefully. Then, Xiao Chen's first mission in the Heavenly Alliance arrived. A black-clad administrator hovered above Xiao Chen's residence and said, "Heavenly Alliance 2 Petal member Xiao Chen, heed my orders. A local sect elder in the Ink Sea cluster is advancing to Sovereign Emperor, threatening the Merchant Association's interests. I order you to go and deal with this problem for the Alliance within 10 days. Otherwise, you will fail the mission and you will be severely punished." Whoosh! A jade strip fell. Xiao Chun stretched out his hand and caught the jade strip. Then, he placed it on his forehead and checked it, gaining a rough understanding of the situation. "Big Brother Xiao, should I get old Lu to call the demon blood vulture over?" Bauer asked. "There's no need. The demon blood vulture is in the early stages of nurturing and is not suited for battle. Help me take care of the residents." Xiao Chen's figure flashed, and he followed the administrator to the Heavenly Alliance's Dao platform. Chapter 2182. The Constellation Zone referred to the Constellation Zone. In the Great Thousand Worlds there was a sea of stars at the center of many star fields, and then they were named after the sea. For example, the Grave Sea cluster that Xiao Chen once stayed in. The various cluster zones were now like stars surrounding the moon, surrounding the central Great Realm. The outer regions that the Central Great World cultivators spoke of mostly referred to these cluster zones. In the eyes of the Central Great World cultivators, the outer regions were like the countryside. Apart from some special clusters in the outer Endless Sea, most of the outer Endless Sea clusters didn't have enough connate spiritual qi, and the inheritances weren't complete enough, so the competition wasn't fierce enough. It was very difficult for an imperial lord to be born. As a sovereign personage, one could dominate the outer seas and enjoy the treatment of the central great realm's foe gods. The Grave Sea cluster that Xiao Chen once stayed in was like this. On the surface, it did not have a single sovereign personage. Perhaps only some rank 4 sects had sovereign personages nearing the end of their lifespans. Normally, such sovereign personages would not appear. The Ink Sea cluster was much stronger than the Grave Sea cluster. It had 2 rank 5 sects, and the sect masters were sovereign personages. Many of the supreme elders were heaven-defying sovereign personages and even false emperors. However, in the past 1,000 years, there had never been an imperial lord. The various factions maintained a delicate balance, but now, a rank 1 sect had an imperial lord. This was incredible. Xiao Chen was very clear about how strong a sovereign emperor was. In front of a sovereign emperor would only need 1 move to kill a sovereign emperor. No matter how many powerful trump cards one had, it would be useless. Even if one had a soul tool, it would only be a slight deterrent. If one side suddenly became stronger, the balance would be broken, and the original distribution of benefits would naturally need to be reshuffled. Xiao Chen was going to the Ink Sea cluster to protect the benefits of the Heavenly Alliance's subsidiary merchant associations. He could not give up his own benefits just because the other party had a sovereign emperor. The mission did not specify a specific solution. He could choose to kill this newly advanced imperial lord or negotiate with him. There were many methods, but there was only one goal: to ensure the benefits of the Heavenly Alliance's affiliated merchant associations. The better this task was done, the higher the merit would be. Otherwise, there would be punishment. Using the Dao platform at Sky Beyond Heaven, Xiao Chen teleported to a Dao platform near the Ink Sea cluster. This Dao platform belonged to everyone, not the Heavenly Alliance alone. By the time Xiao Chen set foot on the Ink Sea, half a day had passed. Xiao Chen clearly sensed the difference between the spiritual energy of this place and the central great realm's spiritual energy. 9 Cauldron Pavilion. The Heavenly Alliance's subsidiary merchant association here was the 9 Cauldron Pavilion. When Xiao Chun thought about it, he felt that he had some fate with the Nine Cauldron Pavilion. If he remembered correctly, he had a VIP card in the Nine Cauldron Pavilion. Let's go to the Nine Cauldron Pavilion's headquarters in the Ink Sea first. The Starry Sea possessed a great gravitational pull. If one was not careful, they would be sucked in. The Starry Sea possessed a corrosive nature. If one's cultivation was not high enough, falling into it would be life-threatening. Xiao Chun recalled that when they first arrived at the Grave Sea, Xiao Chun and Xiao Sua's group had been very careful, not daring to let down their guard at all. Now that Xiao Chun was a sovereign emperor, he did not need to worry too much. He turned into a bolt of lightning above the Ink Sea, piercing through the clouds without fear. 2 hours later, an island that could be called a continent appeared in front of Xiao Chun. This was the largest island in the Ink Sea, Red Cloud Island. The headquarters of the Nine Cauldron Pavilion was there. Normally speaking, since it was called Red Cloud Island, the largest city on the island would be called Red Cloud City. Red Cloud Island was not surprised. As Xiao Chun swaggered into the city, none of the guards or experts in the city noticed him. Hovering in the air, Xiao Chun swept his gaze around, spreading his spiritual sense to every corner of the city. In the next moment, his figure flashed, leaving behind a faint purple mark. When he reappeared, he was already at the entrance of the Nine Cauldron Pavilion. The Nine Cauldron Pavilion was tall and majestic, occupying the best location. However, the entrance was somewhat deserted. This did not match the reputation of the top merchant association in the Ink Sea. Xiao Chun guessed something and directly entered. "This young master, are you here to buy something?" Upon seeing Xiao Chun appear, a pretty maidservant with a faint smile immediately came forward to greet him. "Long Yun, withdraw. I'll take care of this guest." Before Xiao Chun could answer, a spirited old man in embroidered robes with a flushed complexion walked out of the hall's staircase. The maidservant gave Xiao Chun a strange look before withdrawing. However, she could not understand why the pavilion master would personally receive a youth. "This old man's family name is Qin, and my first name is Po. May I ask for young master's great name?" the embroidered-robed old man said to Xiao Chun with a smile as he walked down. Whoosh! This old man must have figured something out. Xiao Chun did not bother speaking nonsense with him. He flashed his Heavenly Alliance medallion in front of the old man. Qin Po's expression did not change. He said seriously, "Young master, please come with me." When Xiao Chun arrived at the private room at the top floor, Qin Po's expression changed drastically. He performed an incredibly respectful cupped fist salute and said, "Greetings, my lord. I did not want to attract attention earlier, so I did not greet you properly. My lord, please forgive me." Xiao Chun sat on a mahogany chair with a calm expression, indicating that he did not mind. He said softly, "Xiao Chun, Grasshead Xiao, Morning Sunday. I do not like to speak nonsense, so please do your best to give a simple introduction of the situation. I will deal with you within 10 days. "Very well, my lord." Qin Po was very careful, not daring to be slow. This was a major character from the Heavenly Alliance. He could not afford to offend him. Even though Qin Po had seen many major scenes, he still felt somewhat nervous. After calming himself, he said, "The Ink Sea has 2 rank 5 sects, the Flying Cloud sect and the Azure Smoke Pavilion. 2 years ago, the Azure Smoke Pavilion's supreme elder, Qinyan Shangren, advanced to sovereign emperor. Half a year after that, the Azure Smoke Pavilion took 70% of the Ink Sea's resources. The other factions shared the remaining 30%. The Azure Smoke Pavilion has always done business with our merchant association. In the past, we earned 70% and they earned 30%. After Qinyan Shangren advanced to sovereign emperor, he demanded an exorbitant price. To think that he wanted us to take only 2% while they wanted 80%. Xiao Chun entered deep thought. The Ink Sea's resources were definitely in the hands of the sections. However, if the sects wanted to develop, They needed to work with the Merchant Association to maximize the benefits of the resources. This could be considered mutually benefiting, helping each other out. There were many ways to do this. However, it was very simple. It was just that whoever was stronger would benefit more. In the past, when the various factions interfered, the Nine Cauldron Pavilion could gain 70% of the profit. However, the situation changed now. The Azure Smoke Pavilion produced a sovereign emperor. The Nine Cauldron Pavilion could not gain any advantage, even getting bullied. There was no need to probe too deeply into the business matters. They had nothing to do with him. Xiao Qin grasped the main point. He asked seriously. He advanced to Sovereign Emperor 2 years ago? Yes. I reported this matter to the Heavenly Alliance's headquarters 2 years ago. However, we never received any attention, Qin Pa said helplessly. Xiao Qin thought to himself, it is not that we do not pay attention. It is just that we do not have enough manpower. Continue. Right. He wanted 80% of the profits. Naturally, we refused. After that, the Azure Smoke Pavilion stopped doing business with us. Instead, they supported a small merchant association and secretly suppressed us. For the past 2 years, we have nearly lost all of our business. You saw how bleak our business is now. Xiao Qin felt doubtful. How can a small merchant association compare to the Nine Cauldron Pavilion? The Nine Cauldron Pavilion had branches in the central Great Realm. In terms of strength and accumulations, a small merchant association could not compare to it. In a fair competition, the Nine Cauldron Pavilion could take out more secret treasures, medicinal pills, cultivation techniques, and martial techniques than the other merchant associations. Qin Pa smiled bitterly. With the Azure Smoke Pavilion secretly supporting us, we cannot do business at all. The Merchant Association's cargo ships responsible for transporting resources have even been robbed a few times. During this period, they have been openly suppressing us. Several of my Nine Cauldron Pavilion's guards died. Qinyan Shangren has already spread the word that all Azure Smoke Pavilion disciples are not allowed to do business with my Nine Cauldron Pavilion. On the surface, it looked like Qinyan Shangren forbade the Azure Smoke Pavilion disciples from doing business with my Nine Cauldron Pavilion. In reality, it was a warning to all the cultivators in the Ink Sea. Who in the Ink Sea would dare to offend a sovereign emperor? Xiao Qin grasped the key point again. He asked seriously, he killed people from the Nine Cauldron Pavilion? Yes. With the Azure Smoke Pavilion supporting us, the other party does not have to worry. Xiao Qin said calmly, that's easy. What is that merchant association called? Qin Pa did not understand what Xiao Qin meant, but he still answered honestly. In the past, it was called the Red Cloud Merchant Association. Now, it is called the 10 Cauldron Pavilion. When Xiao Qin mentioned the name of the other party's merchant association, Qin Po's expression turned even more unsightly. This name was a direct slap in the face. You have 9 and I have 10. This high-profile name is meant to suppress you. Is that Merchant Association's association chief in Red Cloud City? He has always been. Right after Qin Pa spoke, he looked up and saw that Xiao Qin had already disappeared from his chair. The curtains fluttered a few times, indicating that someone had just left. How fast? This startled Qin Pa. However, after he sat down, he felt somewhat uneasy. This Xiao Qin was simply too young. Xiao Qin's cold attitude also made Qin Pa feel somewhat unreliable. He muttered to himself, the Heavenly Alliance has not sent anyone for more than 2 years. Now that someone finally came, they sent a rash youth. Dang. Qin Pa did not see any commotion, but Xiao Qin appeared before him again. Qin Pa raised his head and spat out all the tea in his mouth. Xiao Qin held a head in his hand. It belonged to the head of the Red Cloud Merchant Association's association chief, whom Qin Pa wished he could hack into 1,000 pieces. The other party appeared stunned. Based on his expression, he probably did not even know how he died. If Qin Pa recalled correctly, This fellow was a holy venerate and had the protection of a heaven-defying sovereign personage from the Azure Smoke Pavilion. How did he die just like that? How did he do it? Before Qin Po could even warm his seat or drink his tea, Xiao Qin returned after killing someone. Qin Po could not help feeling fear in his heart. He quickly stood up and said in a trembling voice, "My lord, I killed the person and demolished the 10 Cauldron Pavilion. Make your preparations. Business should be here in the next 2 days." Xiao Qin said indifferently. His expression remained calm, as if he had just done something unremarkable. However, killing a holy venerate before a heaven-defying sovereign personage was indeed an insignificant matter. However, Qin Po was already frightened silly. He said in a trembling voice, I'll go and make my preparations. This little one will take his leave first." "Wait a moment." Qin Po immediately asked in a fluster, "My lord, what instructions do you have?" "Send this head to the Azure Smoke Pavilion as quickly as possible." Qin Po immediately felt startled. "My lord, you are provoking Qinyan Shangren. You have to think this through. Just do as I say." "Why so much nonsense?" Xiao Qin frowned slightly. Qin Po's words made it sound like he should not provoke the other party. However, when Xiao Qin thought about how the other party had been suppressed for a long time, it was understandable that he feared Qinyan Shangren. Xiao Qin softened his tone and said softly, "I want to provoke him. The faster I deal with this problem, the more contribution I will obtain, and the more benefits your 9 Cauldron Pavilion will obtain." Yes. I'll do it now." Qin Po immediately felt somewhat excited. This little lord's temper and boldness were really great. It looked like the 9 Cauldron Pavilion was going to turn things around. Chapter 2183. Inxi, Heavenly Cloud Mountain, one of the 3 blessed lands. A blessed land should have many sects, just like the Purple Flame sect, where Xiao Qin once stayed, which was just one sect in the Blessed Land. However, this Inxi's Heavenly Cloud Mountain only had one sect, the Azure Smoke sect. The reason went without saying. Since a sovereign emperor appeared in the Azure Smoke sect, the Azure Smoke sect naturally wanted to monopolize all the benefits of this great blessed land. Disagree? If one dared to disagree before a sovereign emperor, it would be no different from seeking death. Right now, the Azure Smoke sect lived up to its name in the Inxi. No one dared to oppose it. The sect disciples were even more arrogant and despotic, considering everyone else beneath them. In the Inxi, no one dared to offend them. In an era when sovereign emperors did not appear, even the strongest false emperor could not be so domineering. After all, a rank 5 sect had a soul tool. Even a false emperor had to fear them. Everyone coexisted peacefully, living in harmony. However, now that a sovereign emperor appeared, a soul tool in the hands of a sovereign emperor and a sovereign personage were 2 different secret treasures. The might that a soul tool could bring out was completely different. In the hands of a sovereign emperor, the horrifying might of a soul tool could truly be brought out. In this Inxi, a sovereign emperor was a supreme god. But tonight there was something wrong with the Azure Smoke sect. A rumor had spread through the entire sect, from top to bottom, from the mouth of all the disciples and elders. "Did you hear? Someone killed the 10 Cauldron Merchant Association's association chief. His head was delivered to our sect master last night." How could I not have heard about it? That fellow's death was really strange. He was not weak in the first place, and he had Marshal Grand Uncle Zhang's protection. However, he died just like that. Someone saw Marshal Uncle Jiang return last night. I heard that he was pale and dispirited, like he was scared silly. Who exactly is it? To think that he dares to provoke us. Does he not know that our Azure Smoke sect's ancestor is already a sovereign emperor? This is the most horrifying thing. He clearly knows that you are a sovereign emperor, yet he still dares to kill your people. The rumors were hard to stop. The 10 Cauldron Merchant Association's association chief was killed, and the entire Merchant Association's headquarters was torn down on the street. This was an earth-shattering matter in the Ink Sea. The various major factions received the news at the fastest time. The other factions had already received the news. It would be hard for the Azure Smoke sect disciples not to know about it. At this moment, the sect master and all the elders gathered in the Azure Smoke sect's ancestral hall at the main peak of Skycloud Mountain. Their expressions were incomparably grave as they looked at the items placed in the center of the hall in silence. That object was the head of the 10 Cauldron Chamber of Commerce's president. After the group of people received the heads, they discussed for an entire night, but they still couldn't come up with any ideas. The Azure Smoke sect's sect master, Luo Yun, did not look old, like a middle-aged man. He was dressed in a long green robe and had a scholarly temperament. There was a sharp aura hidden between his brows. That was the foundation of an overlord. Everyone, we've discussed for an entire night, but we still haven't come up with a good idea? Luo Yun glanced at the elders gathered in the ancestral hall and said in a deep voice. There were not many elders. However, even the weakest was a holy venerate. 4 or 5 of the older ones were even sovereign personages. The Azure Smoke sect's entire foundation was here. Even without Qinyan Shangren, the Azure Smoke sect could be considered a peak existence among rank 5 sections. Those who could stand here naturally had some vision. They could tell that this was not a simple murder. Before a heaven-defying person died, Shao Chun had silently killed another sovereign personage. Everyone was very clear on what kind of strength one needed to achieve this. This was especially so for that martial Uncle Jiang. After he returned, he looked like he had seen a ghost. Clearly, he had suffered a huge trauma in his heart. A false emperor could not make martial Uncle Jiang feel such fear. What kind of existence was above false emperor? No one dared to think about it, nor did they want to. They could only continue playing dumb when faced with Luo Yun's question. This is indeed making things difficult for everyone. Luo Yunling, who was sitting on the throne, let out a soft sigh. There was a trace of exhaustion on his face. Originally, Martial Uncle Qinyan should have been in charge of this matter. Unfortunately, Qinyan Shangren was currently in closed-door cultivation. Even when Luo Yun summoned him several times, he ignored him. Naturally, there was no solution to this difficult problem before everyone. Actually, Luo Yun guessed something. As the sect master of a rank 5 sect, he naturally knew some of the secrets of the Central Great Realm. Several thousand years ago, a sovereign emperor had appeared in the Ink Sea cluster. However, that sovereign emperor did not unify the Ink Sea. There seemed to be an invisible hand controlling the Ink Sea's movements in the unseen world. This kept the various factions of the Ink Sea in balance, preventing one faction from becoming too strong and monopolizing the Ink Sea. Even though Martial Uncle Qinyan had become a sovereign emperor, Luo Yun did not want to drive the other factions to the edge. He feared that something bad would happen if this balance was broken. Although Luo Yun did not know what would happen, he still felt worried. However, Martial Uncle Qinyan was stubborn, and the other elders were eager to try. Even if Luo Yun wanted to, he could not. Over the past 2 odd years, the Azure Smoke sect had continuously grown stronger, showing a flourishing momentum. This further dispelled Luo Yun's worries. Unexpectedly, the thing he worried about the most happened. This sigh contained some helplessness. Luo Yun was limited by his knowledge and vision. He could guess something, but he did not know what was going on. This was the helplessness he felt the most. The 5 super factions secretly controlled the entire Great Thousand Realms. Without reaching a certain level, one would not know about this. Even many sovereign personages in the Central Great Realm did not know about the Heavenly Alliance. How much could Luo Yun, a rank 5 sect master of the Ink Sea, know? Martial nephew, what are you worrying about? This sigh is very puzzling. Ha! Just at this moment, laughter rang out. Then, a skinny old man suddenly appeared in the ancestral hall. Although this old man was skinny, His frail body gave off a frightening energy that could not be underestimated, appearing unfathomable. Old ancestor! You finally came out of closed-door cultivation. We were all scared out of our wits last night. Indeed. Quickly, think of a solution. This person was the most famous person in the Ink Sea for the past 2 years, the Qinyan Shangren, whom nearly everyone knew. Luo Yun's eyes lit up. He felt that his martial uncle's strength had improved significantly, becoming even more unfathomable. He quickly stepped forward and said, "Martial uncle, please take a seat." Qinyan Shangren did not stand on ceremony. He sat down in the seat that Luo Yun vacated. As he looked at the heads below, he smiled sinisterly. This fellow is finally dead. Whoosh! Qinyan Shangren stretched out his hand, and the head of the 10 Cauldron Merchant Association's chief flew into his hand. Then, there was a loud bang. Only a skull remained amid the azure smoke. Qinyan Shangren ferociously grabbed, and the skull turned into powder and fell to the ground. Everyone, including Luo Yun, showed startled expressions. This time, they were truly frightened. "Martial uncle," Luo Yun called out, feeling somewhat anxious. "This fellow is just a pawn that I placed in front of me. He will die sooner or later. It was worth it to be able to roam free for 2 years and suppress the 9 Cauldron Merchant Association." Qinyan Shangren waved his hand and said, "As for the rest, martial nephew, there is no need to worry. I already made arrangements. If he had come a year earlier, I might have been in some trouble. As for now, haha, this old man is waiting for him. If he dares to come, I will make sure that he never returns." "As you wish, I am here." Bang! Right after the old man spoke, the doors of the ancestral hall, which were reinforced by formations, shattered. A strong wind blew at the broken doors, and a dazzling light as bright as the sun appeared, so bright that no one could open their eyes. A figure slowly appeared from the light. This figure was dressed in white, and he strode in with his head held high. How young! When the Azure Smoke Sect elders saw this person's appearance, they all sighed in their hearts, feeling somewhat shocked. This was the person that the old ancestor was waiting for. This was the mysterious person that scared their martial uncle Jiang silly. Yuemian looked too young. Based on his appearance, he did not even look 50 years old. Naturally, the person who came was Shao Chen. The head had been delivered to the Azure Smoke Sect for one night, but the person he was waiting for had not arrived yet. Not wanting to waste time, Shao Chen came himself. "I was wondering why the person did not arrive after one night. It turns out that you already condensed a divine vein. How admirable! How admirable! It is already not easy for you to advance to Sovereign Emperor in this desolate place. Now that you have condensed a divine vein, it is even more shocking." Shao Chen glanced indifferently at the somewhat blind people. Then, he said softly, "Do you not understand what I said? Even in the Central Great Realm, this martial granduncle of yours can be considered a top character." These words were true. Even in the Central Great Realm, it was extremely difficult to advance to Sovereign Emperor. Old ancestor, you clearly, the Azure Smoke Sect's elders did not know how strong Qinyan Shangren was or where he ranked in the Central Great Realm. Qinyan Shangren revealed a cocky expression, gladly accepting Shao Chen's praise. Being able to advance to Sovereign Emperor in this Ink Sea already boosted Qinyan Shangren's ambition, filling him with pride. This was the so-called instant success. However, that is all. In the end, the accumulations in the Ink Sea are lacking. Forcefully plundering the Ink Sea's resources to condense a divine vein is even more foolish. You probably do not even have a divine vein level cultivation technique to cultivate. Such a sovereign emperor would not be able to cause much trouble in the Central Great Realm. No wonder you only know how to put on airs in this Ink Sea. Who could have imagined that Shao Chen would suddenly change the topic, belittling Qinyan Shangren as worthless? Qinyan Shangren was already extremely proud of advancing to Sovereign Emperor. He even felt that the sovereign emperors of the central great realm would not be much stronger than him. Earlier, Qinyan Shangren enjoyed Xiao Chen's words. So, he prepared to negotiate with Xiao Chen about the Nine Cauldron Merchant Association. Who could have imagined that Xiao Chen's words would suddenly change the topic, deeply stabbing at Qinyan Shangren's pride. Rage flared up in his heart. The atmosphere in the hall immediately turned strange. The Azure Smoke Sect's elders were frightened into silence. Everyone could tell that this youth had touched on the old ancestors' reverse scale. An icy chill spread in the hall. Qinyan Shangren showed a sullen expression, his skinny face filled with murderous intent. A great battle would start at any moment. Chapter 2184. The atmosphere in the ancestral hall turned strange. No one dared to speak. The group of elders, including Luo Yun, felt increasingly unbearable. The hall was so quiet that one could hear their breathing and heartbeats. Despite this unbearable feeling, they did not dare to move. It was like they feared breaking some sort of balance. Normally, these sovereign personages could call the wind and summon the rain in this Ink Sea cluster, supreme existences. Even though sovereign emperors appeared, sovereign personages were still incredibly rare in this Ink Sea cluster. Wherever they went, they were aloof and aloof. When had these sovereign emperors ever felt so unbearable? To put it bluntly, they did not even dare to let out a fart. The battle between Xiao Chen and Qinyan Shangren had already started. The two's auras clashed, their auras spreading to every corner of the hall. Both were storing up power in secret, searching for the other's openings, trying to suppress the other's aura. The invisible auras were already incredibly intense. Everyone here was a sovereign personage and naturally understood the profoundness of this. At this moment, if anyone dared to move, it would be like adding oil to the fire. Bang! Everything would explode. It was like time stopped in the hall. No one moved at all. Their expressions did not even change. Qinyan Shangren felt somewhat shocked. Although this youth before him had not opened any divine veins, his aura moved according to his heart. However, his aura moved according to his will, moving as he pleased. There were no openings at all. It could be said to be perfect. Dragon images seemed to appear behind Xiao Chen, howling and roaring ferociously. That was dragon might. This was a powerful, outstanding talent with a great desolate Ian bloodline. Ka Xie. Just at this moment, one of the Azure Smoke Hall elders felt somewhat unbearable, so he shifted his body slightly. However, the sound amplified infinitely at this moment. It was like a drop of water falling into a calm lake. However, it did not kick up ripples. Instead, it kicked up a deafening wave like a tsunami. Luo Yun's face sank. Knowing that things were bad, the group of elders executed their movement techniques and quickly moved far away. In that instant, the limit of stillness shifted to the limit of movement. It was like these people came back to life. The elders already moved very fast. However, they were not faster than Xiao Chen and Qinyan Shangren. The incorporeal dragon image behind Xiao Chen gathered together, turning from incorporeal to corporeal, turning into a huge azure dragon image that roared furiously into the nine heavens. Qinyan Shangren's expression turned cold as he slapped the armrest heavily. He mobilized all the accumulations of the entire Qingyun Peak sect. The illusion of a huge incense burner appeared in front of him. There were 3 incense sticks in the incense burner, and green smoke curled around them. Qinyan Shangren flicked his finger, and the lingering azure smoke immediately turned into thousands of sword images that shot out. The 2 auras collided in an instant. With a loud bang, the green smoke ancestral hall collapsed into nothingness. Pucci! Luo Yun and the other elders of the Azure Smoke Hall spat out a mouthful of blood at the same time. The weaker elders, who were only at the Holy Venerate realm, even died on the spot from the shockwaves of the 2 auras. Not only did Luo Yun and the others not have the qualifications to interfere in this battle, but they might even lose their lives if they were careless. When sovereign emperors fought, The scale of the battle was already beyond what these sovereign personages could imagine or resist. Dang! The melodious sound of weapons clashing rang out, echoing throughout the entire heavenly cloud mountain. This blessed land, which was as large as a great realm, buzzed endlessly and trembled. The heavenly cloud mountain was very large and vast. It was at least 100 million kilometers long. In the past, dozens of rank 4 sects lived in this place. One could easily imagine how vast it was. However, this heavenly cloud mountain was also very small. To Xiao Chun and Qinyan Shangren, who were fighting, just the shock waves could cover most of heavenly cloud mountain. Whoosh! A purple figure retreated from heavenly cloud mountain's main peak. As he retreated, he crashed into many peaks, kicking up huge waves in the seawater. Xiao Chun was not retreating alone. Instead, he was retreating with his aura. He did not crash into the tall peak. Instead, his aura crushed them, turning them into surging tsunamis along with the seawater. Humph! How dare you disrespect me on Heavenly Cloud Mountain? Not to mention the fact that you have not opened a divine vein. Even if you did, you would not be a match for me. Qinyan Shangren stood proudly on the mountain summit. At this moment, his slender body seemed to contain boundless might, inspiring others to look up at him like looking at the sky. A strong wind blew as Qinyan Shangren looked coldly at Xiao Chen, who got knocked back. Then, he said sullenly, "You have a great background. I will not kill you. I will use you as a bargaining chip. My azure smoke pavilion will dominate the ink sea, and we will not have to worry about anything in the future." Old ancestor. When the many azure smoke pavilion disciples saw Qinyan Shangren's majestic appearance and bold words, they felt their hot-bloodedness surge endlessly. Whoosh! Xiao Chen gently pushed off the surface of the sea, stopping his retreating figure. At the same time, the surging mountain-like seawater slowly fell back. However, the way it fell was incredibly gentle, following Xiao Chen's aura and spreading out again. What was even more miraculous was that the tall mountain that Xiao Chen crushed earlier actually retreated together with the seawater. It looked like time and space had reversed. In reality, it was just reuniting with Xiao Chen's aura. The mountain had already shattered. The mountain that Xiao Chen saw was only the mountain that existed in Xiao Chen's aura. It was like a painting. When Xiao Chen retreated, the white clouds, mountains, rivers, and sunlight had already entered the painting. Now, the painting was just reuniting. Xiao Chen looked at Qinyan Shangren, who stood proudly on the main peak like he was the sovereign of the world. However, Xiao Chen was not surprised at the other party's strength. A sovereign emperor's accumulations would not be child's play when a rank 5 sect erupted. However, since Xiao Chen dared to come, he had to have considered the other party's geographical advantage. You are courageous. After seeing my azure smoke pavilion's accumulations, you still dare to not flee. Youths are like this, not fearing anything, thinking that they are fated. Today, I will teach you a lesson and show you what fear is. Qinyan Shangren smiled coldly. Then, he casually waved his hand, and the azure smoke lingering around the incense burner circled around his fingertip. At the instant his thumb and index finger came into contact with each other, countless sword cries resounded. They were loud and clear, and they seemed to descend from the heavens and descend from the netherworld. Since the establishment of the Azure Smoke Pavilion, the many disciples had been using their swords to visualize the incense burner every day. They used their bodies as swords to worship the incense burner, accumulating accumulations for 100 years, 1,000 years, countless days and night. Qinyan Shangren flicked his finger, and thousands of sword hums gathered. This sword hum pierced through the entire blessed land from north to south. Stimulated by this sword hum, Heavenly Cloud Mountain's 300-kilometer-tall main peak erupted with resplendent light, looking like a sharp sword illuminating the entire blessed land. Aside from the strand of sword light that Qinyan Shangren flicked out for 50 million kilometers, only black and white remained in the world. The sword light illuminated Xiao Chen's eyes, making his handsome facial features look even more distinct. The sword wind scattered Xiao Chen's long hair, making him appear even more unruly and unruly. The sword light, which carried the sex accumulations, looked like it could split the world apart. Then, it instantly charged over. Everyone in the Azure Smoke Pavilion gasped in amazement at this sword strike. They had only heard of the sect's founding ancestor in the legends, having once flicked out such a strand of sword chi. Now they saw it with their own eyes. It was like the legends unfolded before them. The shock was indescribable. Everyone thought that Xiao Qin would die for sure under this sword strike. Even if he did not die, he would be severely injured, unable to fight anymore. Xiao Qin showed a grave expression, but he did not fluster in the face of danger. The yin and yang divine essence sees in his body silently merged, and the Taiji force field spread out. Whoosh! The instant the Taiji force field appeared, a light burst out from Xiao Chen's body in the originally black and white world. The entire world regained its color. This was Xiao Chen using his own strength to suppress the other party with his aura, breaking the momentum of this sword strike. However, Xiao Chen did not dare to receive this sword strike head-on. This sword strike carried the accumulations of a sect that had accumulated for thousands of years. If he tried to receive it, it would be like an ant trying to shake a tree, overestimating himself. Not to mention whether he could receive it or not, he would be too stupid to do so. After the sword chi entered the Taiji force field, it looked like it could travel through space and time. However, to Xiao Chen, it slowed significantly. Whoosh! Xiao Chen pushed off with his feet and gently moved, looking like he had dodged this sword strike by a fluke. When the sword chi entered the sea, it was like a stream flowing into the sea, silently vanishing. This was because the charm contained in the sword chi had automatically dissipated after losing its target, and the sect's foundation had returned to the mountains and rivers. He dodged it. This startled Qinyan Shangren. To think that Xiao Chen managed to dodge his sure-hit sword strike. He could not help saying angrily, "Let's see how many sword strikes you can dodge." Qinyan Shangren flicked his finger, and another strand of sword chi that seemed to travel through space and time charged at Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen did not dare to be careless. He drove the primal chaos divine energy in his body to the limits and used the Taiji force field to carefully slow down Qinyan Shangren's speed, narrowly dodging again. Whoosh! 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 Damn it! I don't believe that I cannot kill you. Qinyan Shangren felt somewhat flustered and exasperated after failing to hit his target. He flicked his finger, and strands of sword intent shot at Xiao Chen without end. Day and night immediately sped up in the blessed land. Sometimes only black and white remained. Another moment the colors returned to normal. It was like the rising and setting of the sun were sped up. The Azure Smoke sect disciples were horrified to discover that as day and night sped up, their faces aged. Their fine black hair turned white. It was like time sped up several times. Let's see how long you can last. Under the berserk attacks, Xiao Chen appeared somewhat unable to hold out. Qinyan Shangren could not help laughing cockily. Just as he was about to make another move, "Enough!" Xiao Chen, who had been silent all this while, suddenly shouted. This shout was like a clap of thunder, immediately kicking up countless huge waves on the vast sea. "You are really vicious. Draining the sect's accumulations like this, completely disregarding the life and death of the disciples. I have a saber strike. Please give it a try." Gurgle. An unremarkable drop of seawater soared into the air amid the huge waves. Xiao Qin moved like a swallow, looking like he was about to fly but not soar. Then, he flicked his finger. Fiendish saber inheritance, water droplet shaking the firmament. Chapter 2185. A drop of water could break the vault of heaven. Qinyan Shangren used his one-vein sovereign emperor cultivation to drive the sect's 1,000-year-old accumulations. He used the 30-kilometer-tall peak under his feet as a sword, and hundreds of strands of sword chi could cause the mountains, rivers, sun, and moon to pale in comparison. Shao Chen would be defeated with just one strike. Shao Chen, who could drive Taiji with primal chaos divine energy, finally recovered. Shao Chen's counterattack was as insignificant as a speck of dust in front of the sword chi of mountains and rivers. What he flicked out was a drop of water, a drop of rain, a drop of sweat that contained the inheritance of the Devil Blade. The scorching sun had tortured it for 3,333 years, the gale had battered it for 3,333 years, and the lightning had struck it for 3,333 years. Over the past 9,999 years, the thunderstorm, the gale, and the scorching sun could not change his heart. What is a demon? Lonely as I am, 10,000 years of time hanging high in the 9 heavens, I exist alone. What is a demon? Just like me, I am so proud that even the heavens cannot tolerate my heart. This was the second move of the fiendish saber inheritance, using the state of water droplets to break the sky. This drop of water was so tiny that if one did not look carefully, they would not even notice it. But once one discovered it, they would never be able to forget it. It was so ordinary yet so special. It was a demon. It's a drop of water. He flicked a drop of water. What is he trying to do? It's clearly just a drop of water, so why do I feel like I'm shivering and my legs aren't listening to me? Damn it, what's going on? Damn it, what the hell happened? Initially, when he saw this drop of water, he didn't think much of it. But soon, he found himself unable to shift his gaze away from it, and his legs wouldn't listen to him. How strange and bewitching! Qinyan Shangren was somewhat dumbfounded. This raindrop that Shao Chen flicked out completely surpassed his common sense. Although Shao Chen was not a sovereign emperor, his knowledge was limited. He had never heard of the fiendish saber's name or seen such a martial technique. He knew that this raindrop was extraordinary, but he couldn't think of a way to deal with it. Not just for a moment, but with his experience, even if he racked his brains, he still wouldn't be able to think of a way to deal with it. If they had the advantage of the terrain, it would have been impossible for them to suppress Shao Chen before by consuming the foundation that the sect's disciples had been accumulating for thousands of years. I don't believe that a mere drop of water can overturn the heavens, Qinyan Shangren shouted coldly. Then, he waved his hand at the 3 incense sticks in the incense burner and wiped them gently. The little accumulations that the sect had accumulated were immediately drained. Using the sect's accumulations, Shao Chen activated the sect protecting formation. Instantly, sword lights covered the main peak of Heavenly Cloud Mountain as the sect's formation activated. Then, the lights surged, and the nearby mountains and rivers seemed to come to life, as if a long sword had come to life. In an instant, thousands of mountains became one. Is it useful? Shao Chen's face was expressionless and cold, without the slightest hint of emotion. That drop of rain appeared in the eyes of the Azure Smoke sect disciples. It got closer and closer, silently piercing through the tall mountains and breaking through layers of sword veils, heading for a lake in the middle of the sect. He watched as the droplet of rain pierced through the mountain and tore through the sword veil, but nothing happened. Seeing this scene, Qinyan Shangren could not help but laugh. You are just bluffing. You nearly, drip? Before Qinyan Shangren could finish speaking, that droplet of rain landed on the lake. With a loud boom, the entire blessed land, not just the Azure Smoke sect's 1,000-layered mountain gate, exploded with a loud bang. No! Qinyan Shangren showed a horrified expression as he screamed at the top of his lungs. The foundations of the Azure Smoke sect, which had been around for thousands of years, vanished before his eyes, completely destroyed. After that, the wind blew continuously. Layers of seawater exploded, and spirit springs spewed out everywhere. 7 colored lights scattered like fireworks. That was the top-grade spirit vein that sustained the blessed enclave. It had also been destroyed. Everything that he could see had been destroyed. However, He could only watch helplessly as the saber intent that erupted from that droplet of rain brought a calamity of destruction. One droplet of rain could destroy the sky. If the droplet of rain in that painting truly appeared, it might be able to sweep through the entire ink sea and destroy everything. Such a killing move already surpassed the norm of the mortal world. It could only be described as demonic. Xiao Chun stood upright with his hands behind his back as he slowly approached. With every step he took, the dilapidated mountains and rivers recovered. It was like time flowed in reverse. By the time Xiao Chun arrived before Qinyan Shangren, the entire blessed land had recovered to its original state. You, how ruthless! Even if I was in the wrong, you could have just killed me alone. However, what crime did the tens of thousands of my Azure Smoke sect disciples commit? To think that you slaughtered them all. You destroyed the foundation of my sect for thousands of years. Qinyan Shangren felt extreme grief, looking haggard. The killing intent that erupted from that droplet of rain landed on him. That inferior-grade soul tool incense burner had already shattered. Qinyan Shangren looked haggard, in an extremely sorry state. Xiao Chun said calmly, "I did not kill them. Old ancestor." Many figures descended from the sky with confused expressions, clearly at a loss as to what to do. In fact, they did not even know what was happening. Xiao Chun purposely controlled that droplet of rain. Most of the saber intent landed on the Azure Smoke sect's formations and Qinyan Shangren. The moment the saber intent erupted, the others got knocked back. When they landed, they saw this scene. These people did not even know that their sects were already destroyed and that the entire blessed land was gone, as everything had happened too quickly. You all, Qinyan Shangren looked over. These sect disciples all had white hair and faint wrinkles on their faces. They looked like they had aged many years. Qinyan Shangren could not continue. Previously, he only cared about defeating Xiao Chun, squandering the sect's accumulations and overdrawing on the vitality of these sect disciples. Otherwise, given his foundation in the ink sea, even if he condensed a divine vein, he would not be able to gain any advantage against Xiao Chun. He would not be able to gain any advantage against Xiao Chun. He would reveal an opening with one strike, not to mention suppressing Xiao Chun. Old ancestor, are you all right? The sect disciples did not understand the reason behind this. Instead, they started worrying about Qinyan Shangren's injuries. Only Luo Yun and the other sovereign personages knew what was going on. However, they did not know what to say. They glanced at Xiao Chun, who was watching coldly from the side. Their hearts filled with fear and nervousness. Clang! Just as the sect disciples were worrying about Qinyan Shangren's injuries, they suddenly heard a melodious saber hum. A saber light flashed, looking like a short-lived, piercing and dazzling. What are you trying to do? If you dare to injure old ancestor, we will fight you to the death. After Qinyan Shangren became a sovereign emperor, he was like a god to the Azure Smoke sect disciples. This was especially so in the past 2 years, when he led the Azure Smoke sect to dominate a region. All the sect disciples worshipped him, holding him in high esteem. Seeing Xiao Chun draw his saber, the group of sect disciples all panicked, blocking Qinyan Shangren. Move aside. Qinyan Shangren knew Xiao Chun's strength. Before Xiao Chun, these people were like paper, not threatening at all. We are not leaving. I told you to move aside. Qinyan Shangren shouted angrily, shaking off all the disciples. Immediately they were tossed out like sandbags. Holding the tyrant saber, Xiao Chun approached step by step. When he arrived before Qinyan Shangren, he swung his saber. Luo Yun and the other sect masters immediately felt their hearts in their throats, feeling immense pressure. Senior, if you have any requests, just state them. Our Azure Smoke sect will definitely do as you say. Is it because of the 9 Cauldron Pavilion? We can hand over all the benefits we gained in the past 2 years. You just need to say the word, and we can spare Martial Uncle's life. In the end, Luo Yun could not bear to do this. He mustered up his courage and spoke in a trembling voice. This major character, who dominated a region and swept through the ink sea, now trembled in fear, filled with helplessness. Xiao Chen ignored Luo Yun. He only looked at Qinyan Shangren and said, "It is not easy to become a sovereign emperor in the ink sea. This is your opportunity. However, you should not be afraid. So what if you are from the ink sea? You manage to become a sovereign emperor in this insignificant ink sea. So what if you go to the central great realm? The path of a cultivator should be fearless. Even if you suffer all sorts of hardships, it is fine as long as you keep moving forward. However, you remain stubborn, only wanting to dominate this ink sea, suppressing the other sects and squeezing out the resources of the entire ink sea. Heavenly Alliances Xiao Qin, today, I will chop off one of your arms as punishment for bullying the Nine Cauldron Pavilion. Behave yourself in the future." As the saber light descended, Xiao Qin sheathed his saber. Qinyan Shangren cried out miserably as his right arm was chopped off. Remnant saber intent lingered in the wound. This saber intent would remain for a long time. Even a sovereign emperor would not be able to recover from it. Xiao Chen did not kill Qinyan Shangren because he wanted to maintain the balance in the ink sea. He was also doing this out of consideration for the Azure Smoke sect disciples. If Qinyan Shangren died, the sects that he suppressed for the past 2 years would definitely kill all these disciples, not leaving a single one alive to vent their hatred. The more important reason was to maintain the balance, to give the various factions of the ink sea time to catch a breather. Even if a sovereign emperor lost an arm, he would still be much stronger than a regular false emperor. However, he would still be incomparable to when he was at his peak. Furthermore, with the destruction of the Azure Smoke sect, the Azure Smoke sect could only rest and recuperate for a long time. In the future, when the Azure Smoke sect rose up, it would fear the Nine Cauldron Pavilion and not dare to bargain. Only then would the Azure Smoke sect be in line with the Heavenly Alliance's interests. Only then would the mission come to a perfect conclusion. Whoosh! Xiao Chen's figure flashed. Then, he turned into a flash of purple light and vanished. Boom! When Xiao Chen left, the aura around him scattered. The entire blessed land shattered like a painting, returning to its original state. The sect is gone. This scene stupefied those disciples, all of them gaping and at a loss for what to do. However, Sect Master Luo Yun and the group of Elder Wang knew about this long ago. The moment they were sent flying, the entire mountain gate, no, the entire blessed enclave was gone. When the aura was gone, everything turned to dust. That feeling of helplessness made one sad, but one could not do anything about it. If possible, one might as well live in the painting, living in the aura that Xiao Chen gathered. At the very least, the sect still existed. Even if one knew that it was fake, it was better than being in rubble. This made one feel despair and heartache. For the past few years, I monopolized the ink sea. I was really living in a dream. After I woke up from this dream, I realized that this ink sea was never my ink sea. Luo Yun smiled bitterly and sighed softly, appearing haggard. Chapter 2186. Outside Heavenly Cloud Mountain in the Ink Sea, a group of Azure Smoke Pavilion disciples looked at the ruined Blessed Land. There was another figure who was also observing silently. However, even if Xiao Chen were here, he would find it hard to detect this figure. What more these people? The mysterious person looked around and fixed his gaze on Qinyan Shangren's severed arm. Xiao Chen had left some saber intent there. It would be very difficult to disperse the saber intent that contained Xiao Chen's divine seal Dao domain, especially when Xiao Chen had left it behind. Qinyan Shangren would have to find someone much stronger than Xiao Chen to disperse this saber intent. Otherwise, even a sovereign emperor would not be able to recover his arm. You did it beautifully. The mysterious person slowly withdrew his gaze, no longer paying attention. To the Heavenly Alliance, killing Qinyan Shangren or not did not matter. The most important thing was to maintain the 9 Cauldron Pavilion's maximum benefit. If Qinyan Shangren was killed, the Ink Sea would definitely fall into chaos. It might even trigger a chaotic battle between the various factions, resulting in a drastic change in the situation. The 9 Cauldron Pavilion was only a merchant association. It did not want to see such a scene. It still needed a stable Ink Sea without a strong ruler. After chopping off Qinyan Shangren's arm, Qinyan Shangren's strength decreased significantly. While he still deterred the other factions, it would be extremely difficult for him to regain his previous dominance. After learning this lesson, the 9 Cauldron Pavilion would fear him and not dare to do anything to the 9 Cauldron Pavilion. As for Qinyan Shangren, it did not matter. A sovereign emperor who advanced in the Ink Sea was not sufficient. Actually, Xiao Chen's evaluation of Qinyan Shangren was already very fair. The true experts of the Central Great Realm all felt arrogant toward the outer regions in their hearts. It looks like he really obtained the fiendish saber inheritance. I have to remember this. As for the rest, there should be nothing else. The mysterious person muttered to himself before quickly leaving, vanishing from this place. Just like how no one knew when he arrived, he left without leaving any traces, as if he had never existed. As for Xiao Chen, he had already completed his mission when he chopped off Qinyan Shangren's arm. He could go to Red Cloud Island to report or ignore everything and directly return to the Heavenly Alliance's headquarters. However, Xiao Chen was thinking about another problem. Could he take this opportunity to go to the Blue Dragon's homeland? But on second thought, he chose to give up. When he was in the sky beyond heaven, he felt like someone was watching him. After coming out, he still felt uncomfortable. It was best to be as cautious as possible. In the future, it wouldn't be too late to go when he could accept missions alone. Anyway, if there were people in the dark, he wouldn't have to worry about his life. After heading to the Starry Sky Dao platform, Xiao Chen returned directly to the Heavenly Alliance's headquarters. As soon as he set foot on Sky Beyond Heaven, the deacon who gave him the mission was already waiting for him. Xiao Chen cupped his hands and said, "Deacon Mu." Deacon Mu nodded slightly. "The headquarters gave you a 5-star evaluation. You got full marks for both the time you took to complete the mission and the result. Congratulations on completing the mission. You've been awarded 1,000 merit points." As he spoke, he took out his Heavenly Alliance medallion and stuck it to Xiao Chen's medallion. Then, Xiao Chen noticed that the number 1,000 had appeared on the back of his token under the 2 plum blossom petals. The number was well embedded in the vast white snow. If one did not look carefully, it would be hard to notice. You can exchange the merit points for resources. However, after you exchange them, the corresponding merit points will vanish. Deacon Mu gave Xiao Chen a simple explanation before turning to leave, not lingering. However, before he left, he gave Xiao Chen a few more glances, like he wanted to remember him. As Xiao Chen toyed with the Heavenly Alliance medallion, he thought to himself, to think that there is no reward for completing the mission. Is the merit the reward? However, if I exchange the merit points, I will have to wait to raise the rank of my plum blossom petals. While it looks like I am obtaining merit points for completing the mission, if I exchange them for resources frequently, the day I raise my plum blossom petals will be far away. The Heavenly Alliance must have done this on purpose. After returning to his residence, Xiao Chen greeted Bao Er. Then, he entered the medicinal spring room, removed his clothes, and soaked himself in. The medicinal spring had a healing effect. When he fought with Qinyan Shangren, he had suffered some injuries from sword qi. This soaking could relieve his fatigue, heal his injuries, and eliminate hidden injuries. It was indeed pretty good. Xiao Chen closed his eyes and fell asleep. When he woke up, Bao Er was already waiting for him. She helped Xiao Chen put on his clothes. "Big brother Xiao, you completed this mission really quickly. You completed it in less than 3 days." After helping Xiao Chen put on his clothes, Bao Er smiled softly and said, "Many of the deacons are praising you. If they were all as efficient as you, there would not be a lack of manpower. Xiao Chen did not deny it. After chatting with Bao Er for a while, he entered the cultivation room and entered closed-door cultivation. Cultivating at the foot of the Heavenly Alliance's divine mountain was much faster than cultivating outside. He could clearly feel the divine energy in his body rejoicing. Xiao Qin wondered how this divine mountain was forged for it to have such miraculous effects. As the 10,000 dragons art circulated, many different dragon images appeared in his divine energy sea. After 100 dragon images appeared, they stopped. Xiao Chen was still far from forming the 10,000 dragons picture and reaching the first step of the 10,000 dragons art. However, Xiao Chen still had a long time ahead of him. With this divine mountain to rely on, he could save a lot of time. Xiao Chen's days of quiet cultivation did not last long. After 3 days, he received missions. Xiao Chen, who was only a 2-petal plum blossom cultivator, did not have any free time. Now, he finally understood what Bauer meant by resting more. Otherwise, he would not have any time to rest. Xiao Chen did not say anything unnecessary. He just took the missions and left, completing them at the fastest speed possible. His efficiency was flabbergasting. In a short year, Xiao Chen became famous in the Heavenly Alliance. Everyone knew about this white-clad bladesman. This was because Xiao Chen needed only 1 year to become a 3-petal flower. Xiao Chen did not use any of the contribution points for completing the missions. He saved them all up. When he met the requirements, he immediately chose to raise his cultivation. To Xiao Chen, the Heavenly Alliance's divine mountain was sufficient for his needs. Little brother Xiao Chen, are you sure that you are in such a rush to raise your cultivation? Administrator Mu, who was already very familiar with Xiao Chen, said out of goodwill, you can exchange these contribution points for many resources. If you choose to raise your cultivation, you will lose all of them. Xiao Chen replied calmly, I know. However, I have my own arrangement. The higher one's cultivation, the more contribution points one can obtain for completing missions. The highest reward for a 2-petal flower is only 1,000 contribution point. The lowest reward for a 3-petal flower is 10,000 contribution point. This will depend on how it is calculated. There was one more thing that Xiao Chen did not say. If a 3-petal flower could choose its own missions, it would not be as passive as before. Administrator Mu smiled and said, since you have made your choice, I will not say anything more. Xiao Chen returned the Heavenly Alliance medallion to Xiao Chen. Then, another of the 8 plum blossoms lit up on the snowy scene on the back, making a total of 3. The numbers under the plum blossoms all turned to 0. Xiao Chen would stand on a new starting point. This is for you. Xiao Chen found this somewhat strange. Then, he received a jade bottle from Administrator Mu. When he opened it, he saw that it contained 5 tons of origin liquid. This was a large sum. Even after selling the 10,000-year-old herb kings, Xiao Chen had only obtained 50 tons of origin liquid. This is, Xiao Chen asked, feeling confused. Administrator Mu explained, this is the Heavenly Alliance's reward for you. All the lords saw your contributions for themselves in the past year. Originally, with the contribution points you obtained, it would have been a large reward. You could have even exchanged for an inferior grade soul tool. However, you did not exchange for it, which was equivalent to doing nothing. The lords felt that they could not let you down. They did not know what you needed, so they gave you 5 tons of origin liquid. When Xiao Chen thought about it, he felt that this was true. He had worked hard in the past year. Normally, he did not feel much. This was because he felt that being in the Heavenly Alliance was the greatest reward. He had a divine mountain to cultivate on, a demon blood vulture to nurture, and combat experience to temper himself as a sovereign emperor. Honestly speaking, although these days were dull and tiring, they suited Xiao Chen. Although Xiao Chen had not opened a divine vein in the past year, his 10,000 dragons art progressed rapidly. He was only one step away from condensing the 10,000 Dragons picture. Many thanks. Xiao Chun thanked Administrator Mu softly as he put away the jade bottle. Origin liquid was good stuff. He would not reject something that came to him for free. Administrator Mu smiled faintly and called out to Xiao Chun, who was about to turn around. Don't be in a rush to leave. The Alliance Chief wants to see you. The Heavenly Alliance's Alliance Chief was one of the leaders of the 5 super factions of the Righteous Tao. He was one of the people who stood at the peak of the martial epoch. Although Xiao Chun was in the Heavenly Alliance, it was impossible for him to request an audience with the Heavenly Alliance Chief. There was too much of a difference in their levels. Why are you looking for me? Xiao Chun asked in a deep voice. His expression remained calm, not showing much fluctuation. Administrator Mu waved his hand and said, How could I know about such things? However, he is not meeting me alone this time. Grim Reaper Lin Feng is going as well. Chapter 2187. There was a divine mountain in heaven beyond heaven. At the summit of the divine mountain was a residence. Aside from the Heavenly Alliance's Alliance Chief, no one else was qualified to reside at the summit of this divine mountain. Under Administrator Mu's lead, Xiao Chun headed for the divine mountain's summit. As Xiao Chun advanced, he felt the mysteriousness of the divine mountain. The foot of the mountain could not compare to the middle of the mountain. The density of the divine nature was like night and day. No wonder people wanted to climb higher. They needed to live high, be strong, and possess a high status. They needed to be aloof, looking down from above, enjoying others looking up to them. There was no need to describe the mysteriousness of the Alliance Chief's residence. With just one glance, Xiao Chun felt somewhat helpless. Every brick and tile was made of alloy and decorated with spirit herbs and celestial flowers. There was a sense of elegance in the atmosphere. This was the so-called paradise. Little brother Xiao Chun, please enter. I'm not qualified to enter, Administrator Mu said with some envy. One could see the entire Heavenly Alliance great realm from the summit of this divine mountain. It was not easy to enter the residence and meet the Alliance Chief. Xiao Chun nodded and entered the residence with his head held high. There was no one in the hall to guide him, but there was only one path. He just had to keep walking forward. Pawns lined both sides of the path. There were elegant and ancient murals on the walls. Xiao Chun did not know which epoch they were in. As he walked, he pushed open a door. Then, Xiao Chun figured that he should be in the main hall. A person stood in the hall. It was Grim Reaper Lin Feng, who had arrived earlier. When he saw Xiao Chun, he nodded slightly in greeting. Xiao Chun nodded back in greeting. He felt admiration for this Grim Reaper Lin Feng. Xiao Chun heard that Lin Feng was once a sovereign emperor in the abyssal underworld. However, he betrayed the abyssal underworld and destroyed his demonic Tao cultivation technique. Lin Feng's cultivation returned to its starting point and started over. Then, he rose up again, comprehending the Death Great Tao and the Death Tao domain. He surpassed his previous peak and was extremely incredible. Rumor had it that Lin Feng's master betrayed him, offering his lover with an extreme body to the underworld god Hall's vice hall master. This person exuded an extremely heavy death qi. He did not befriend others and kept a low profile. He did not have much of a presence in the Heavenly Alliance. However, his strength made it so that no one could ignore his existence. All of the information about him were just rumors. Xiao Chun heard that he had directly become a disciple of Swearenji, the same Swearenji who had wanted to recruit Xiao Chun. How long have you been here? Xiao Chun walked over and asked softly. Lin Feng answered simply, an hour before you. Xiao. Just when Xiao Chun felt that Lin Feng wasn't that cold, a light flashed at the end of the hall. 9 figures appeared at the end of the path. They looked very close, but these 9 people seemed to be in another world. They were so close, yet so far away, their figures faintly discernible. 2 of them sat cross-legged, while the other 7 stood behind them. They had different expressions on their faces, as if they were shadows. Xiao Chen saw Mu Zifeng among the 7. These 7 should be the Heavenly Alliance's 7 core doyens. Needless to say, the 2 people who sat down were the Heavenly Alliance's Alliance Chief and Vice Alliance Chief. Greetings to the 2 Alliance Chiefs and the 7 Lords. Xiao Chen and Lin Feng bowed slightly, performing cupped fist salutes to show respect. These 9 people could be considered the Heavenly Alliance's core upper echelon. They held high positions, and their cultivations were among the strongest. Good. I have long heard that my Heavenly Alliance produced 2 outstanding talents of the new generation. Today, I finally get to see them, the seated black-clad old man said. This person should be the Heavenly Alliance's Alliance Chief, Hua Tianyang, one of the top experts of the current martial epoch. Mu Zifeng, Swearen Ji, are these 2 your disciples? Mu Zifeng replied softly, Xiao Chen is not my disciple. He is Peach Blossom's disciple. I can be considered his guide in the Heavenly Alliance. Peach Blossom, so, he is Peach Blossom's disciple. He still remembers how well the Heavenly Alliance treated him. Hua Tianyang said softly, help me prepare a gift tomorrow and send it to Desolate Sea Peach Blossom City. Yes. After Mu Zifeng answered, Swearen Ji smiled and said, Xiao Chen is not Mu Zifeng's disciple. However, Lin Feng is indeed my disciple. I noticed him the moment he entered the Heavenly Alliance. Xiao Chen and Lin Feng had no right to interfere when the powerhouses spoke. They could only let these people comment on them. Xiao Chen only glanced at Swearen Ji and saw his appearance clearly. Swearen Ji had a cold and gloomy face. His eyes flickered with a wild light, giving the impression of a venomous snake lurking in the shadows. Xiao Chen, Lin Feng, the 2 of you have been in my Heavenly Alliance for more than a year. Perhaps the 2 of you cannot feel it, but the Heavenly Alliance's secret guards protected you every time you went on a mission. The Dark Guards saw everything. This is sufficient to prove your loyalty to my Heavenly Alliance. Hua Tianyang got straight to the point, not bothering with pleasantries. This confirmed the feeling that someone was monitoring Xiao Chen. In reality, the Heavenly Alliance's newcomers did not receive such treatment in the past. My Heavenly Alliance does not care about loyalty. We are very clear on how many spies there are in the vast Heavenly Alliance. However, it does not matter. As long as they can be used by my Heavenly Alliance, they can do whatever they want. Such boldness was indeed shocking. However, given the Heavenly Alliance's uniqueness, this was indeed the case. It is fine as long as you are used by me. As for other thoughts, I will just not let you come into contact with the core. Hua Tianyang continued, this time, I called the 2 of you here for a mission. I need the 2 of you to work together to complete it. This mission is tailor-made for the 2 of you. I can't find anyone more suitable than you. Xiao Chen thought to himself, tailor-made for the 2 of us? That means that Lin Feng and I have something in common, which makes us suitable for the Alliance Chief's mission. What do we have in common? After thinking about it, the only thing the 2 of them had in common was the dragon race bloodline. However, Xiao Chen was a flood dragon human, and his dragon race bloodline had mutated. As for his dragon race bloodline, to others, it should be a mutated mixed-blood dragon bloodline. Mu Zifeng, come and speak to them, Hua Tianyang said softly. Mu Zifeng nodded and said, Xiao Chen, Lin Feng, the Alliance Chief wishes to send the 2 of you to the Abyssal Underworld to retrieve a holy item that the Heavenly Alliance once lost in the Abyssal Underworld, the Snow God Whip's dart head. 4,000 years ago, 5 superpowers joined hands to attack the Netherworld world, intending to eradicate the Underworld God Hall in one fell swoop. During the Great Battle, the Heavenly Alliance's Snow God Whip was destroyed, and the dart head was lost. The Heavenly Alliance has always wanted to find it. Unfortunately, it is too difficult for the people of the Righteous Tao to enter the Abyssal Underworld. If you're too strong, you'll be discovered before you even enter the Netherworld. If you're too weak, you won't be able to complete the mission. As long as the two of you complete this mission, you will be promoted to become a four-petal member. The Alliance leader will also personally agree to one of your requests. Hua Tianyang sighed and said, I am ashamed to say this. This sacred item was lost in my hands, but I am unable to retrieve it myself. Swearenji hurriedly said, Alliance Master, don't feel guilty. If not for this battle back then, showing the glory of our Heavenly Alliance to the world, showing our Heavenly Alliance's strength, our Heavenly Alliance would not have become a superpower. Furthermore, you entered the abyssal underworld 9 times and fought with the underworld monarchs several times, putting yourself in danger. You have already done enough. The other Cordoyans quickly consoled Hua Tianyang, not wanting him to feel too guilty. I know about that great battle. It is known as the final blood battle in the abyssal underworld. The 9 layers of the abyssal underworld suffered heavy casualties. If not for the Shuowu dynasty's help, the underworld god hall might have been destroyed. If I guessed right, this dart head should be in the final blood battlefield remnant. That place is considered a forbidden land in the abyssal underworld, Lin Feng replied softly. He was rather clear about this battle. Before Lin Feng betrayed the underworld god hall, the underworld god hall had been proclaiming how despicable the people of the central great realm were. Lin Feng once thought of killing his way back to the great Thousand Realms one day, establishing supreme beneficence for the underworld god hall, helping the flood dragon humans reclaim the divine dragon empire. However, that was all in the past. It was no longer important. That's right. If there are no surprises, this dart head should still be in the final blood battlefield. The two of you possess the dragon race bloodline. Lin Feng does not even need to disguise himself to return to the abyssal underworld without being discovered. As for Shao Qin, the demonic Dao cultivation technique that you cultivate can hide your identity very well. Hua Tianyang changed the topic as he looked at Shao Qin and smiled gently. When Shao Qin heard that, his heart trembled. He revealed a horrified expression, feeling somewhat at a loss. Originally, Shao Qin thought that the other party would say that he had a mixed-blood dragon bloodline. That way, he would not be discovered. Who could have imagined that Hua Tianyang would expose his secret of cultivating a demonic Dao cultivation technique, leaving him at a loss? Hua Tianyang smiled and said, There is no need to be nervous. Since ancient times, there have been people of the righteous Dao who cultivate demonic Dao cultivation technique. All the talented people would study demonic Dao cultivation techniques, just like how there are people of the demonic Dao who cultivate righteous Dao cultivation technique. My Heavenly Alliance's senior elder Swearenji cultivates a demonic Dao cultivation technique. However, it is still the same. As a core doyen of my Heavenly Alliance, no one in the righteous Dao dares to say anything. Don't think of the people of the righteous Dao as too pedantic. Some things are only said on the surface. In the end, it is still a conflict of interest. If you are strong enough, who will dare to control you? Of course, if you are not strong enough and do not have a backer, the result will be different. As Hua Tianyang spoke, Swearenji smiled sinisterly at Shao Qin. His smile seemed profound and mysterious. Shao Qin cursed in his heart. I hid it well enough. Even a faux god would not easily discover it. It must be Swearenji who exposed me. While Hua Tianyang's words sounded like consolation, they were actually threats. You have my Heavenly Alliance's protection. Just like Swearenji, no one will dare to say anything. If you leave the Heavenly Alliance and someone kills you as a demon, you will not be able to redress your grievances. However, this is not entirely a bad thing. If you are completely flawless, with all your strengths, Hua Tianyang might not dare to trust you. However, once he discovers your secret, he will have something to use against you. On the contrary, he will trust you even more. Shao Qin calmed down and said, Alliance Chief is right. Shao Qin has experienced it for himself. Hua Tianyang nodded slightly and said, Let's do it this way, then. The two of you go and make preparations first. We can depart at any time. The moment Xiao Chen turned around, his expression turned somewhat sullen. Without saying a word, he quickly left. The Heavenly Alliance is not a good place to stay. No wonder the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor chose to leave back then. As Mu Zifeng watched Xiao Chen leave, he sighed to himself. The Alliance chief had decided on this. He could not inform Xiao Chen in advance. Serene, you did well this time. You managed to discover Xiao Chen's weakness. Otherwise, given how cautious he is and how he does things, the hidden guards who were observing him would not have discovered any weakness, Hua Tianyang praised softly. Only when there was a weakness would it be easier to control Serene. Only then would Serene feel assured to do some things. Otherwise, Hua Tianyang would not be able to leave this matter to Xiao Chen. Serene smiled and said, "Finding the holy relic is Alliance Chief's greatest wish. Naturally, Serene will do his best." Chapter 2188. When Xiao Chen returned to his residence, he had already calmed down. He had not expected his secret to be exposed. At that time, Xiao Chen felt somewhat stunned. However, after thinking about it, he realized that it might not be a bad thing. Cultivating a demonic Dao cultivation technique had always been a knot in Xiao Chen's heart. Now that it was exposed, he felt much more relaxed. From now on, he would no longer have this knot in his heart. Hua Tianyang was right. The battle between the righteous factions and demonic factions, eliminating demons and protecting the Dao, was ultimately a battle of interests. How could the people of the righteous Dao be so pedantic? How could a faux god have such low standards? Since ancient times, many people had cultivated demonic Dao cultivation technique. However, most of them did not end up well. On the surface, everyone showed fear. However, who could guarantee that they did not secretly learn or look at demonic Dao cultivation technique? Even from the perspective of knowing oneself and one's enemy, this was not a bad thing. However, Hua Tianyang's last sentence was even more right. If one was strong enough, no matter what cultivation technique one cultivated, others would not dare to say anything about it. Say anything? If they said anything more, they would kill them. However, if one was not strong enough and did not have any backing, they would be killed if they dared to cultivate it. Speaking of which, killing a demon would increase Xiao Chen's reputation significantly. He would give others a handle to use against him, and would not be able to redress his grievances. Big Brother Xiao, your expression seems somewhat off. Did something bad happen when you met the Alliance Chief? Bauer asked timidly when she saw that Xiao Chen had not said anything after he returned. Her expression also looked somewhat frightening. Xiao Chen took a sip of tea and replied calmly, "It's fine. The Alliance Chief gave me a heavy responsibility. It is hard to say whether I will survive or not." "Oh," Bauer said, not asking anything more. She just obediently filled Xiao Chen's teacup. As the atmosphere turned somewhat heavy, Mu Zifeng went directly to Xiao Chen's residence. Then, he waved his hand to dismiss Bauer. "Big Brother Mu." Xiao Chen stood up. Mu Zifeng gave Xiao Chen a deep look. "Then," he said, "you should have told me in advance that you cultivated a demonic Dao cultivation technique. Otherwise, if Serene found out about it, I would not have been forced into such a passive state." Xiao Chen showed a doubtful expression as he said, "Big Brother Mu will be implicated as well. Of course. Did you think the Alliance Master didn't have a motive for asking if you were one of my disciples?" Mu Zifeng said softly, "Alliance Chief Hua is injured and will retire in a few years. At that time, one of the 7 of us will have to choose the position of Alliance Chief." Suddenly, Xiao Chen felt somewhat tired. He felt very uncomfortable in the Heavenly Alliance. It was much worse than when he was in the Heaven Dragon Palace. There were schemes everywhere, and there were hidden guards at all times. It made people feel a little depressed for no reason. Now, Xiao Chen increasingly understood why the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor left back then. Mu Zifeng was somewhat different from what Xiao Chen had imagined. However, when he thought about it, it made sense. For him to climb to the position of a Cordoyan, how could he be someone with few desires? My apologies for implicating Lord Mu. I am truly sorry. Xiao Chen replied calmly. His expression was calm, but he did not show much sincerity in his apology. Mu Zifeng sensed the distance in Xiao Chen's words. He sighed in his heart and stopped dwelling on this problem. Let's drop this matter. Let's talk about the holy relic. If possible, you have to obtain the dart head yourself. You have to get the most credit. Xiao Chen frowned slightly, feeling displeased in his heart. Mu Zifeng was purposely trying to sow discord between him and Lin Feng. Before the mission even started, he was already scheming. Mu Zifeng observed Xiao Chen's expression and knew what he was thinking. He said seriously, "You might not know this, but the Heavenly Alliance spent a lot of time and resources on this holy relic. For the sake of retrieving the holy relic, Hua Tianyang nearly lost his life. Left with no choice, he came up with this plan. This is the best opportunity. The Heavenly Alliance has been making preparations since the start of this batch of newcomers. After a few rounds of secret screening, we finally decided on you and Lin Feng. Your appearance is simply a heaven-sent opportunity." When Xiao Chen heard that, his heart sank. Does that mean that Mu Zifeng thought of this mission the first time he saw me? Mu Zifeng's shrewdness was somewhat scary. You can say that the Cordoyan behind whoever retrieves the holy relic will be the next Heavenly Alliance's alliance chief, Mu Zifeng said softly to Xiao Chen. Seeing that Xiao Chen remained silent, Mu Zifeng said indifferently, "I can promise you that if I become the alliance chief, the position of Dragon Emperor will be yours. There are no longer any heroes in this world. It is impossible for you to obtain the position of Dragon Emperor by relying on so-called dreams and emotions. I can tell you this. The forces involved in the position of Dragon Emperor are many times greater than you can imagine. You absolutely cannot become the Dragon Emperor by yourself. You need my support, the support of the Heavenly Alliance's alliance chief." Mu Zifeng did not bother with pleasantries or threatening Xiao Chen. He only explained all the benefits to Xiao Chen. Seeing Xiao Chen reveal a contemplative expression, Mu Zifeng smiled faintly and said, "You are very similar to Peach Blossom. You only want to pursue the martial Tao, not caring about the karma of the mundane world. However, you and I are in the mundane world, so we cannot avoid it. The heavenly realm shattered, and the martial epoch no longer has a true god. To think that you talk about the dream of pursuing the peak of the martial Tao. In my opinion, this is rather comical. Of course, I personally admire these people, including you and Peach Blossom. This could be considered the age of decline. True gods of the martial Tao no longer existed. There was no peak, no goal. Several generations of faux gods were already lost. This was the worst age. Mu Zifeng's words represented the thoughts of most sovereign emperors and faux gods. Xiao Chen put down his teacup and said, "Let's not talk about this first. Lord Mu, let's talk about the mission." Mu Zifeng smiled faintly and said, "It is fine if you want to run away. I will not force you. I already said it. Being born in the mundane world, the karma of the mundane world cannot be avoided. You will make your own choice when the time comes." Xiao Chen raised his eyebrows. He knew what Mu Zifeng meant. At this moment, Swearin Ji was probably saying the same thing as Lin Feng. "Let's not talk about this for now. Let's talk about the mission. This is a replica of the Snow God whip. You can take a look." Mu Zifeng took out a long whip that looked like a plum blossom. There was a total of 9 segments, each one looking like a plum blossom branch. In reality, it was made of plum blossoms, supplemented by divine materials and transcendent alloys. When Xiao Chen touched it, he could feel a flourishing life force amid its coldness. It contained an extremely strong life Tao. At the top of the 9-segment plum blossom whip was a dart head flickering with 7-colored light. It looked like the tip of a spear, but it was sharper and more exquisite. This is. Xiao Chen found it somewhat familiar, but he could not recall what it was. Mu Zifeng smiled and said, "You must be very familiar with it. Take out your medallion and take a look." Xiao Chen took out the Heavenly Alliance medallion and immediately understood. The front of the Heavenly Alliance medallion had divine characters made of 7 pieces of metal. This is a 7-color stone. When the Heavenly Alliance was first established, the 7 merchant associations collected all the supreme treasures in the world and refined them into a fantasy divine stone. If not for fear of getting into trouble because of its value, the Heavenly Alliance's Grandmaster-level martial sages could have forged it into a transcendent grade soul tool. Hence, they could only forge it into a dart head, which resulted in the peak superior grade soul tool, the Snow God Whip. Although the other parts of the so-called Snow God Whip are precious, they are not worth mentioning compared to this 7-color stone. Xiao Chen toyed with the Snow God Whip in his hand. Then, he gently swung it, and snowflakes immediately drifted down. The Scarlet Plum Blossom Whip in his hand looked exceptionally beautiful against the backdrop of the wind and snow. It had its own grace, swaying gracefully in the snow. "Since this dart head is so miraculous, aren't you afraid that Lin Feng and I will take it and flee?" Mu Zifeng smiled and said, "Don't even think about it. Without a cultivation technique to complement it, you cannot bring out its true might. Furthermore, given the 2 of your smart, you will not do something so foolish, trying to control a treasure that is not of your own strength." Mu Zifeng was right. Without sufficient strength, controlling such a treasure would only bring disaster upon oneself. The Heavenly Alliance did not have to worry. Furthermore, the 2 of them had weaknesses. They did not dare to fall out with the Heavenly Alliance. No wonder Hua Tianyang said that this mission was tailor-made for the 2 of them. To the Heavenly Alliance, the 2 of them were the best candidates. There was nothing more suitable. After chatting for a while, Mu Zifeng stood up and said, "Let's not talk about the mission anymore. This Snow God Whip replica is a peak Dao tool, no weaker than some inferior grade soul tools. I'll give it to you. There's also this. Take it as well." Xiao Chen received a seed and asked, finding it strange, "What is this?" "This is a rank 9 peony seed, the devastatingly beautiful peony, the king of flowers. The instant it blooms, life force fills the air. It can suppress the death Dao domain for 1 hour. Even if you do not need it, you can keep it to protect yourself. Of course. I hope that you will take the initiative to use it. After all, who knows what Swearenji prepared for him?" Mu Zifeng smiled meaningfully. Then, he patted Xiao Chen's shoulder and turned to leave. Xiao Chen set the seed aside. Then, he picked up the teacup and fiddled with it, thinking about everything Mu Zifeng said. On the other side, as Mu Zifeng expected, Swearenji also gave instructions to Lin Feng. "Do you understand everything that I told you?" Swearenji's deep voice sounded somewhat hoarse. Lin Feng nodded silently, not saying anything more. Suddenly, Lin Feng's expression changed slightly, and he took 2 steps back. Horror flashed in his eyes. A ghostly figure appeared and circled Swearenji, making him look even more sinister and cold. Swearenji smiled sinisterly. Then, he flicked his finger and a ghostly figure appeared. It turned out to be a strand of Ho Soul. Whoosh! The Ho Soul in Swearenji's hand turned into an arrow flickering with a green light. It was a bona fide ghost Ho arrow, radiating a frightening chill. Lin Feng could not suppress the horror in his heart, so he had to take another step back. Swearenji smiled faintly and said, "Are you afraid? I am not here to kill you. This dragon-killing arrow is to send that fellow to heaven. After you obtain the holy relic, kill him for me." This little bastard actually dared to reject my invitation back then. He must be tired of living. Now, he even dares to be so close to Mu Zifeng. How reckless! Lin Feng grabbed the dragon-killing arrow flying at him. He felt his soul tremble. This was the innate fear of the dragon race bloodline toward the Ho. However, Lin Feng was Lin Feng after all. After holding the arrow for a while, a ruthless look appeared in his eyes. Unexpectedly, he suppressed the might of the arrow. Very good. I hope that you can bring back not only the holy relic but also Xiao Chen's head. Swearin Ji revealed a satisfied smile. He liked ruthless people like Lin Feng, who were ruthless to themselves and even more ruthless to their enemies. Chapter 2189. After sending off Mu Zifeng, Xiao Chen made preparations for his trip to the Abyssal Underworld and Lin Feng's meeting at the summit of the Abyssal Underworld 3 days later. The two of them nodded slightly and greeted each other. Even though they were both feeling a little strange, there was no trace of it on their faces. They were extremely calm. It didn't take long for Hua Tianyang and the 7 core Grand Elders to arrive. It looks like you're almost done with your preparations. I won't be able to send you off on this trip. Ku Yun, help me send the two of them off. Unexpectedly, Hua Tianyang did not send Mu Zifeng or Swearin Ji. Instead, another Cordoyan, Ku Yun, did it. This Ku Yun was known as Master Ku Yun. Among the Cordoyans, he was in charge of the Heavenly Alliance's blacksmithing and blacksmithing matters. He never competed with others. Follow me. Whoosh. A figure that seemed to have jumped from the other side of the world appeared before the two of them. It was Master Ku Yun. Xiao Chen and Lin Feng followed Master Ku Yun to the Heavenly Alliance's Dao platform. The Netherworld was located beneath the Central World. It was composed of 9 realms and had its own laws. It was equivalent to the dark side and shadow of the Central World. The two were interdependent and neither could destroy the other. Huh? Xiao Chen, your alloy battle armor seems to have reached 2 stars. Master Ku Yun exclaimed in shock when he saw Xiao Chen's glove. Lin Feng, who was at the side, also looked over in surprise. The upgrade of alloy battle armor required an enormous amount of resources, and he was still stuck at a 1-star alloy battle armor. Xiao Chen's expression did not change as he said calmly, I used all the resources in the Faux God world on the alloy battle armor. When I returned to the Heavenly Alliance, I asked Lord Mu Zifeng to upgrade it. No wonder. Come, let's head to the Central World first. It was just a small matter, so it was over after a brief mention. Through the Dao platform's teleportation, he arrived at the Central World. Xiao Chen looked at the familiar surroundings and felt slightly shocked. This place seemed to be the Desolate Sea. Desolate City was not far ahead. Is this barren city? Indeed. We should do our best to keep a low profile. The Desolate Sea is a good place to hide from others. Come, I'll send you to the Abyssal Underworld. Master Ku Yun used his own cultivation to carry Xiao Chen and Lin Feng. Soon, they arrived at a deep chasm. Demonic energy gushed out from the pitch-black abyss. The surroundings were secluded, and there was no one in the wilderness. This was one of the more secretive passageways from the Central World to the Abyssal Underworld. Very few people knew about it. This 10,000 demon abyss is too dangerous and leads directly to the 9th layer of the Abyssal Underworld. Very few people use it. You too should be careful, said Master Ku Yun as he looked at the bottomless abyss filled with unknown dangers. Xiao Chen and Lin Feng exchanged glances. Then, they did not hesitate to jump down. The two of them were no strangers to the Netherworld. Xiao Chen had once carried out a mission in the Heaven Dragon Hall and killed Rakshasa Tion's clone with 1 saber strike. However, at that time, he had gone to the 1st layer of the Netherworld. This time, he was going to the even more dangerous 9th layer of the Netherworld. As for Lin Feng, he was originally a flood dragon human and had been born in the Netherworld since he was young. Coming here was like returning home. Looking at the two of them entering the abyss, Ku Yun fell into deep thought before he shook his head and sighed. Soon, 2 figures descended from the sky. They were Swearin Ji and Mu Zifeng. Master Ku Yun did not feel surprised at the two's appearance. He just nodded slightly to them. Brother Mu, who do you think will bring back the holy relic in the end? Mu Zifeng replied indifferently, The abyssal underworld is very dangerous. Brother Swearin, you should be worried about whether they can return alive. As for finding the holy relic, they have failed for so many years. It would not be strange for them to fail again. Swearin smiled and said, "Stop pretending. You and I both know that the chances of finding the holy relic this time are the highest. However, you are right. We still have to worry about whether Shao Chen can return or not. That is the most important thing. After all, he has not even opened a divine vein." Lin Feng was once a sovereign emperor expert and grasped the Death Dao domain. He should not have to worry about self-preservation. Mu Zifeng's expression changed slightly. He smiled and said, "It looks like Brother Swearin thinks that Shao Chen will definitely fall in the abyssal underworld. Let's see who can return alive at that time." The two clashed with each other, their words containing needles. After exchanging a few words, the atmosphere turned exceptionally hostile. Master Ku Yun did not find this strange. Suddenly, he raised his eyebrows and said, "The two of them have already arrived in the abyssal underworld. It is time to go." After saying that, Master Ku Yun left first, not lingering. Mu Zifeng and Swearin both snorted coldly and left at the same time, not leaving any traces behind. At the bottom of the 10,000 demon abyss, Shao Chen and Lin Feng landed one after another. When they looked around, they saw a desolate scene. Tall shrubs grew on the ground, and dark clouds hung in the sky. A blood moon hung high in the dark clouds. After landing, Shao Chen sheathed his saber. His journey in the 10,000 demon abyss had not been smooth. There were many ferocious abyssal underworld creatures, especially vampire bat. There were so many of them that it was flabbergasting. If one was not careful, one would end up sucked dry. As Shao Chen sized up his surroundings, he saw a gushing river at the limits of his vision. There seemed to be the silhouette of a city further away. With a thought, the yin and yang divine energy sea in Shao Chen's time core flipped over. Now, the divine energy sea surging with demonic qi was revealed. Immediately, Shao Chen's aura changed drastically. Shao Chen's eyes turned pitch black, filled with a demonic nature. His entire body gave off an aura that could devour the world, inspiring fear. Shao Chen could feel the demonic qi divine energy filling his meridians. A violent and bloodthirsty emotion spread throughout his body. This was the first time he allowed the demonic qi divine energy to occupy his physical body without holding anything back, so he was not used to it. After calming down for a while, Shao Chen's mental state returned to normal. Now, he could deal with the demonic qi divine energy in his body, as well as the violent and bloodthirsty emotion. Lin Feng felt flabbergasted as he watched from the side. In the blink of an eye, it was like Shao Chen had vanished. A bona fide demonic Dao sovereign emperor stood beside Shao Chen, radiating a frightening aura from all over. "The two of you are too big of a target. Let's split up for now. We will meet at the final blood battlefield half a month from now." Lin Feng suddenly spoke before Shao Chen could stabilize himself, startling him slightly. "All right." After thinking about it, separating for now was not a bad idea. So, Shao Chen nodded in agreement. As Shao Chen watched Lin Feng leave, he guessed that Lin Feng might be meeting some people or doing some other things in the abyssal underworld. After all, Lin Feng had grown up here and became a sovereign emperor here. This was fine. After all, Shao Chen could not figure out Lin Feng's thoughts. Furthermore, Lin Feng's Death Dao domain was extremely difficult to deal with. Anyone would be tired of being on guard all the time. Shao Chen changed into black clothes and a conical bamboo hat. Then, he got the demon blood vulture to perch on his shoulder. His getup was perfect. Shao Chen chose a different direction from Lin Feng, heading forward. The abyssal underworld had a total of 9 layers. The 9th layer was the most bustling. Aside from the Azura race, which controlled the 9th layer, the elite cultivators of the Rakshasa race and Yaksha race from the other layers gathered there. This was because the Underworld God Hall's main hall was in this 9th layer of the Abyssal Underworld. Aside from the Abyssal Underworld's races, there were also many human demonic Tao cultivators in this 9th layer of the Abyssal Underworld. Most of them were here on experiential training. The demonic Tao cultivators and the Abyssal Underworld cultivators cultivated very similar cultivation technique. Hence, they frequently communicated with each other. Along the way, Shao Chun met with several demonic Tao cultivators. When the Azura race and the other Abyssal Underworld cultivators saw Shao Chun, they did not find him strange and did not give him a second look. There was no one in this place except for righteous Tao cultivators. Perhaps there were, but they disguised themselves better. The righteous Tao cultivators and the Abyssal Underworld's races could be considered mortal enemies. They had fought several times before, wanting to destroy the other side as soon as possible. Unlike Lin Feng, Shao Chen's understanding of the 9th layer of the Abyssal Underworld was limited to some information on paper. If Shao Chen wanted to reach the final blood battlefield, he needed to head to the nearest Abyssal Underworld city and obtain a map there. Otherwise, who knew how long it would take to find the final blood battlefield if he was blind? 4 hours later, Shao Chen arrived before the river at the limits of his vision. That was a scarlet river. The gushing river looked like the rough blood of a demonic beast, looking very uncomfortable. The gushing river was like the sea with horrifying waves. From time to time, layers of ghostly shadows would appear, causing people to tremble with fear. Shao Chen knew that this was the Abyssal Underworld's holy river. It held a high and sacred position in the hearts of the Abyssal Underworld's races. The holy river gushed all the way to the Azura Purgatory. The Underworld God Hall was above that Azura Purgatory. Even the Abyssal Underworld's races were not allowed to touch the holy river water. Only those with meritorious contributions or noble bloodlines could enjoy the baptism of the holy river. As for outsiders, that went without saying. Right now, Shao Chun was a demonic Tao cultivator. He could only obediently wait for the underworld boat on the other side to cross the river. Several cultivators already gathered at the pier. There were many Rakshasa, Yaksha, Azura, and demonic Tao cultivators. Most of them were only star venerates or holy venerate. Even sovereign personages were rare. Shao Chun spread out his aura slightly, attracting the attention of the crowd. This attracted the attention of the crowd. They kept their distance from him and looked at him with respect. Even the Azura cultivators, the masters of the 9th layer of the Abyssal Underworld, did not dare to show any disrespect or be impudent. In the Abyssal Underworld, the respect for the strong was exceptionally exaggerated. The underworld boat docked on the holy river. As long as Shao Chun did not leave, no one dared to move. After Shao Chun boarded, the cultivators behind him rushed to board the underworld boat. The surging river water surged. However, the underworld boat, which was not very large, moved against the current like it was on flat land. Shao Chun stood at the bow of the boat and looked at the river. The river was vast like the sea, boundless. Blood mist and ghostly figures filled the air. Occasionally, he heard the cries of infants and the wails of malicious spirits. That should be a demon blood vulture on that senior's shoulder, right? That should be it. What a strong demon blood vulture. Its bloodline is already starting to revert. How enviable. It would be great if I had such a demonic pet. Recently, many demonic Tao seniors have come to our 9th layer of the Abyssal Underworld. I wonder why they are here? Who knows? How can we be qualified to participate in the matters of these major characters? The cultivators whispered to each other as they looked at Shao Chun at the bow. Their words were filled with awe and worship. Shao Chun felt very satisfied with this. Before he came, he had learned that the Abyssal Underworld worshipped the strong. If he deliberately kept a low profile, he would end up attracting trouble. The races of the Abyssal Underworld were all hot-tempered, cold-blooded, and bloodthirsty people. It would be much more convenient to keep a low profile. Not only would no one dare to seek trouble for him, but it would also be more convenient. Greetings, Senior. As Xiao Chen looked at the river, a trembling voice came from behind him. He turned his head and saw a young Azura race cultivator calling out to him. Chapter 2190. The Azura clan had a very interesting characteristic. The nobler the bloodline of this race, the better looking they were, and the higher their status. This was the case for both men and women. If you saw a member of the Azura clan with an ugly appearance, needless to say, his strength and talent would probably be average. This was a race that looked at appearances. With one look, one could tell the status and strength of the Azura race member. The young Azura race cultivator who appeared before Xiao Chen was rather handsome. He had a single horn on his head, snow-white hair, and a pair of eyes that looked like blood jade. "What's the matter?" Xiao Chen asked indifferently as he turned around. That Azura race cultivator calmed himself and said, "I am Luoho Yun, from the Luoho clan, one of the 4 royal clans of the Azura race. I took the liberty of disturbing you because I want to get to know you. This underworld boat was forged by my Luoho clan." Under the cloak, Xiao Chen raised his eyebrows. Based on this person's appearance and the many cultivators behind him, it seemed like he was telling the truth. "My family name is Xiao. Young Master Luoho is too polite." Seeing that Xiao Chen did not get angry, Luoho Yun rejoiced. "Senior, please come with me. This is not a good place to speak." Xiao Chen followed the other party to the top of the underworld boat. Luoho Yun received Xiao Chen warmly. Luoho Yun took out some rare and precious fruits that contained a demonic nature and pure demonic spiritual energy. Xiao Chen glanced at them and thought to himself, "I do not like these demonic nature fruit. However, if I don't eat them, I will easily expose myself. Left with no choice, I can only feed these abyssal underworld spirit fruits to the demon blood vulture on my shoulder." When Luoho Yun saw this scene, he felt shocked. "Senior, do you normally use these 1,000-year-old demonic spirit fruits to feed the demon blood vulture?" This was not wrong. After entering the Heavenly Alliance, the demon blood vulture only ate 1,000-year-old demonic spirit fruits under Senior Lu's nurturing. Xiao Chen did not deny it. He replied indifferently, "It's all right." Luoho Yun felt somewhat flustered. To think that he took out the spirit fruits for feeding demonic pets to receive Senior Xiao. He quickly apologized, "I was rude earlier. However, this underworld boat is very simple. I simply cannot take out any decent spirit fruits to receive Senior Xiao." "I'm fine," Xiao Chen responded casually. For the time being, he would take it as learning about the Azura race. Among the many races in the Netherworld, the Azura race seemed to have the highest status. Rakshasa, Yaksha, and the other layers of the Netherworld were all servants of the Shura for a very long time. Later on, they slowly grew stronger. However, from the looks of it, even though there were some differences between the Nether Kings and none of them were willing to submit to each other, the Nether Kings were not willing to submit to each other. However, it was undeniable that the Azura race was still the strongest, and they controlled the underworld god hall. As they chatted idly, Xiao Chen brought the topic to the final blood battlefield to see if he could obtain any useful information. Final blood battlefield? That place had not been peaceful recently. It was normally a forbidden area, and those who dared to go there were all experts. However, it seems like some incredible treasure appeared this time, attracting the experts of the 9 layers of the abyssal underworld over. There are also many demonic Dao experts from the Xuewu dynasty. When Luoho Yun mentioned the final blood battlefield, excitement flashed in his eyes. However, he quickly extinguished it. Normally, Xiao Chen could not go to the final blood battlefield. Now that it was so chaotic, he could not go. The genes of the Azura race flowed in their blood. They had an innate desire for battle and worshipped the strong. While the final blood battlefield was not peaceful, the more it was so, the more the Azura race cultivators would be curious and hot-blooded. However, Luoho Yun was merely a Cloud Sea Star Venerate. Even if he went to the final blood battlefield, he could only wander around the periphery. If he dared to enter, there would be only one result: death. Xiao Qin could not remain calm in his heart. Something appeared in the final blood battlefield. Could it be a dart head made of 7-color stone? Do you know what it is? Luo Huoyun shook his head and said, I'm not sure about that. However, the final blood battlefield was the decisive battlefield between the abyssal underworld and the great Thousand Realms more than 4,000 years ago. Both sides suffered countless casualties. The only things that can be excavated are the remains of faux gods, soul tools, demonic weapons, and powerful treasures. Normally, most of them are incomplete fragments. I believe that a relatively complete soul tool or strange treasure was discovered this time. Perhaps it is some holy relic of our ancestors. That is all that can be excavated from the battlefield. It should not be natural treasures or rare fruits, right? This little fellow understood rather well. Indeed, that was all that could be excavated from the battlefield. However, Xiao Qin had some misgivings in his heart. If the dart head was really exposed, his and Lin Feng's mission would be somewhat uncertain. After the underworld boat docked, Luo Huoyun invited Xiao Qin to return to his clan with him, wanting to introduce him to his father. There were 4 Azura kings in the 9th layer of the abyssal underworld. The position of the 9th underworld monarch had always been passed between the 4 royal clans. Xiao Qin guessed right. This Luo Huoyun's father might be Luo Huowang, one of the 4 Azura kings. After the boat docked, Xiao Qin discovered that Luo Huoyun had a sovereign emperor expert by his side, protecting him in secret. However, Luo Huoyun himself did not know this. For Luo Huoyun to be able to send out a sovereign emperor guard, it showed Luo Huoyun's position in the Luoho clan. If Xiao Qin went to meet this Luo Huowang and exposed his identity, only death awaited him. However, the other party was a Luo Huowang. He would definitely know what happened in the final blood battlefield. That would be of great help to completing the mission. After thinking about it, Xiao Qin chose the former. He could take his time to find out information about the final blood battlefield. Xiao Qin only had one life. If he lost it, it would be gone. Furthermore, Xiao Qin was not very enthusiastic about the mission to retrieve the holy relic in the first place. I have matters to attend to. Never mind. Let's meet again if we are fated, Xiao Qin said indifferently. After saying that indifferently, Xiao Qin slowly vanished from Luo Huoyun's gaze of worship. Big Brother Hong, how high do you think Senior Zhao's cultivation is? Peak Holy Venerate, Sovereign Personage, or False Emperor? Luo Huoyun asked one of the guards beside him. I can't tell. However, I always feel on edge when standing beside him. I keep feeling like I will be swallowed up at any moment. I hope we can meet again. To think that I was fortunate enough to meet such an expert today. This is truly incredible. When Luo Huoyun thought about it, he felt some admiration for himself. To think that he dared to step forward and greet Xiao Qin. The meeting with Luo Huoyun was just a small interlude in Xiao Qin's journey to the abyssal underworld. His plan had not changed. After arriving at the nearest city and obtaining a map, Xiao Qin rushed to the final blood battlefield. Along the way, Xiao Qin kept an eye out for information about the final blood battlefield. However, there were many rumors about it. There was no definitive answer. Recently, Xiao Qin even heard that righteous Dao cultivators had joined in, startling even the underworld god guard. This gave Xiao Qin a headache. Since he was not familiar with the abyssal underworld, he could not find any reliable information. 3 days ago, Xiao Qin had already arrived at the final blood battlefield. Xiao Qin wandered around the battlefield's periphery a few times, killing some abyssal underworld ferocious beasts that did not know better. At the same time, he familiarized himself with the battlefield's environment. According to rumor, this final blood battlefield was not the only place where the great battle 4,000 years ago took place. Since ancient times, many great battles had taken place here. Back then, the Black Dragon King fought the 9 underworld monarchs here as well. The decisive battle with the demonic Tao cultivators had also taken place here. This was an ancient battlefield with a long history. Just by wandering around the periphery, one could feel the corpse chi that had accumulated for many years. Without reaching the Cloud Sea realm, one would not even be qualified to enter. Even sovereign personages had to be extremely cautious in this ancient battlefield. As for Divine Vein Realm sovereign emperors, as long as they were careful, they would not run into too much danger in this ancient battlefield. Even if they ran into someone they could not afford to offend, they should not have any problems fleeing in advance. The truly terrifying ones were the other sovereign emperors who entered this place. These people were far more dangerous than the Forbidden Land itself. Is Lin Feng not coming? It looked like the appointed time with Lin Feng was approaching, but the other party had not appeared yet. The Heavenly Alliance medallion could sense each other's presence. The medallion did not react at all. This meant that the other party was still far from the final blood battlefield. As the blood moon rose, the appointed time passed. Then, Shao Chen shook his head and entered the final blood battlefield alone. Since the other party had not arrived yet, there was no need to wait. However, Shao Chen did not notice a spot behind him that his spiritual sense could not detect. A figure slowly put away the bow in his hand on the summit. The arrow flickered with a cold light, looking startling under the illumination of the blood moon. No one knew what would happen if this arrow was fired. However, in the end, the owner of the bow chose not to attack. Chapter 2191. Unable to wait for Lin Feng, Shao Chen could only enter the final blood battlefield alone. The ancient battlefield was desolate. Broken weapons could be seen everywhere. From time to time, one could see evil spirits and vengeful spirits floating in the air. They all had sinister faces and frightening expressions. They were formed from the resentment of the battlefield and the remnant souls of dead martial artists. Most of them had no intelligence, only a vicious nature and bloodthirsty brutality. However, when these evil spirits saw Shao Chen, they all ran far away. Their instinctive fear told them that they couldn't provoke Shao Chen. While waiting for Lin Feng at the edge of the battlefield, Shao Chen had explored this place a few times and was already very familiar with it. This time, Shao Chen did not hesitate, directly flying towards the depths of the final blood battlefield. When one reached the depths of the battlefield, one had to be careful. The Tao of many martial techniques from that battle still lingered. It might be a blade of grass, a flower, or even a gust of wind, but it contained the remnant martial technique Tao of a faux god realm expert. Of course, what they should be more wary of were the remains that had turned into corpses. The monstrous resentment and demonic chi in this place would cause a corpse to turn into a corpse, and it would display strength no weaker than when it was alive. Moreover, there was no end to killing them. Even if their bones were crushed to ashes, as long as the blood moon still existed, as long as the resentment here didn't scatter, there would always be a time for them to revive. Pa. Shao Chen held the replica snow god whip in his hand. As he brandished it, snowflakes drifted down and cold winds blew. She was like a beauty dancing in the snow. However, this beauty had a bad temper. She was so cold that no one dared to approach her. Amidst the thunderous cracking of the whip, a group of zombies that were charging towards Shao Chen were all frozen and then shattered into pieces. Shao Chen was somewhat surprised to discover that this was the snow god whip replica that Mu Zifeng gave him. When he drove it with his ice Tao domain, it was very smooth to use. Suddenly, Shao Chen frowned slightly and let out a soft cry of surprise. The Heavenly Alliance medallion sensed someone approaching. Aside from Lin Feng, there should not be any other Heavenly Alliance members in the 9th Abyssal Underworld. Turning his head, he saw a cold figure rapidly approaching him. It was Lin Feng. Sorry, something happened. I'm late. After Lin Feng landed, he said calmly. No one could tell what he was thinking from his words. Shao Chen didn't think too much about it and said in a deep voice, "It's fine. It just so happens that I also discovered something and wanted to tell you." Before I came, I heard that something seemed off with the final blood battlefield. The discovery of a strange treasure startled not only the 9 layers of the abyssal underworld but also the experts of the Xuewu dynasty. Lin Feng nodded and said, I was just about to say this. What was unearthed was not the holy relic of our heavenly alliance, but the corpse of an ancient demonic sovereign that fell out of a space-time crack. The corpse of an ancient demonic monarch? Yes, it's an ancient demonic monarch with the abilities of a true god. It's possible that he fought with someone before and was swept into the space-time flow. Now, he has appeared here. Xiao Chen thought to himself when he heard that. Simply put, a true god's corpse landed in the final blood battlefield. The key point was that this corpse had once been sucked into the space-time flow. Now that it had reappeared, it meant that it had died not long ago. Its value was self-evident. No wonder he hadn't been able to find out about it before. Even among the great forces of the netherworld, only the top ones would know of such secrets. As for Lin Feng, he used to be in the netherworld, so he probably knew some of the more secretive intelligence organizations. Since it is not the Heavenly Alliance's holy relic, it has nothing to do with us. Should we split up or continue moving together? Next, they would start searching for the Heavenly Alliance holy relic. The two of them had a jade strip on them. As long as they were within a certain range of the dart head, they would be able to sense it. Although it was like searching for a needle in a haystack, with this jade slip and the speed of a sovereign lord, they would be able to find a sovereign lord. As long as the holy relic was still in the final blood battlefield, he would definitely be able to find it. It was just a matter of time. Let's split up and search. We'll meet up once every 7 days. Cross out the areas that have already been explored so that we don't have to explore again. This way, the efficiency will be very high. That's exactly what I was thinking. It's settled then. After the two discussed, they parted once more in the depths of the final blood battlefield. Searching for holy relics was a very boring task, especially when one had to deal with zombies that appeared out of nowhere. Some of the zombies were even very horrifying. Even with Xiao Chen's strength, he had to avoid them. Of course, what was even more unfortunate was accidentally triggering the remnant Tao of a faux god powerhouse. That was like a faux god traveling through space and time to attack. If one was not careful, one would turn to ashes, dying on the spot. No wonder Xiao Chen had always thought that he could not complete this mission. He was too weak, unable to survive in this final blood battlefield. He was too strong and could not hide himself, easily attracting the Underworld God Hall's experts. Take Hua Tianyang, for example. He had appeared 9 times in the past and returned empty-handed, nearly dying here. On the other hand, the demon blood vulture was like a fish in water here, incredibly happy. The demon blood vulture could swallow up all demonic nature. When it opened its beak and sucked, it was like swallowing a demonic spirit fruit. With the demon blood vulture as a means of transportation, Xiao Chen had a much easier time in this forsaken place. There, in the depths of the final blood battlefield, a majestic and tyrannical figure appeared in the hazy dust cloud in the distance. The figure's eyes swept through the surroundings. Everyone who met its gaze trembled in fear, not daring to look at it for long. An ancient demonic sovereign. Xiao Chen knew that should be where the ancient demonic sovereign fell. In the past few days, he had seen several abyssal underworld sovereign emperors and demonic Tao experts rushing over. Actually, deep in his heart, Xiao Chen wanted to go and take a look. He had heard that no one had been able to get within 100 kilometers of the ancient demonic sovereign. Even though the ancient demonic sovereign died, the strong demonic gods might still linger, making it hard for people to move. However, this had nothing to do with the mission, so he could only put it aside for now and not join in the excitement. After 2 months, Xiao Chen still gained nothing in the final blood battlefield. He had no clue about the Heavenly Alliance's holy relic. The dry days could temper his mental state. Shao Chun discovered that even when he filled his entire body with demonic Tao divine energy, he could freely control his killing intent, rage, and all sorts of negative emotions in the final blood battlefield. During this time, Shao Chun even saved some demonic Tao experts and Azura race cultivators. Shao Chun gained some fame. Most of the cultivators who went to search for the ancient demonic sovereign's corpse knew about this loose cultivator. Although this loose cultivator had not opened any divine veins, he cultivated an extremely powerful demonic Tao cultivation technique. He was very strong and skilled in the ice Tao. His whip techniques were extremely strange. "It looks like the thing that I feared the most has happened," Lin Feng said helplessly, sighing softly. The two had already searched every place in the final blood battlefield. Only the place where the ancient demonic sovereign's corpse was left unexplored. Clearly, the Heavenly Alliance's holy relic should be where the demonic sovereign's corpse was. Clearly, the Heavenly Alliance's holy relic should be where the demonic sovereign's corpse was. However, there were already many factions fighting over that place on the surface. It was chaotic, not to mention the experts hiding in the dark. I heard that with the various experts working together, they can already get within 10 kilometers of the demonic sovereign's corpse. Shao Chun suggested softly, "Perhaps we can wait a little longer. After they deal with the demonic sovereign's corpse, we can make our move." "It looks like that's all we can do." However, just at this moment, a strange light flashed in the two's eyes. Then, they each took out a jade strip. The jade strip flickered with a multicolored light. The two looked in the same direction at the same time. Lin Feng said sullenly, "That's impossible. I already searched that direction. How could the Heavenly Alliance's holy relic be found there?" "It is moving." Whoosh! The demon blood vulture flashed with light and turned into a beam of scarlet light, flying quickly in the air. Shao Chun sat on the demon blood vulture's back and got it to quickly fly in the direction of the holy relic. In such an environment, the demon blood vulture was even faster than a regular sovereign emperor. It should be able to help Shao Chun take the lead. However, Shao Chun clearly underestimated Lin Feng. The instant Shao Chun moved, Lin Feng stood on the demon blood vulture's back together with him. "Brother Lin, if this demon blood vulture carries two people, it will be slower," Shao Chun said, feeling somewhat upset. Shao Chun said somewhat unhappily. This fellow reacted rather quickly, directly jumping onto the demon blood vulture's back. This prevented Shao Chun from making a move. Lin Feng glanced at Shao Chun, showing an expression that said, "You understand, I understand, don't pretend to be confused." Then, he said indifferently, "That is still faster than me." When the holy relic appeared, whoever gained the initiative would definitely snatch it first. "Stop!" Shao Chun was about to say something when he sensed an extremely strong aura. He quickly ordered the demon blood vulture to stop flying in the cloud. Lin Feng frowned slightly as well. The two felt that something was wrong. When the two squinted, they saw a group of Azura race cultivators 500,000 kilometers below. Even the weakest of them was a sovereign personage. This was especially so for the person in the middle. His strength was extremely horrifying, at least a 3-vein sovereign emperor. Someone who could condense 3 divine veins was already extremely strong among sovereign emperors. 1 divine vein equaled 1 heaven. At the very least, the current Shao Chun and Lin Feng were not a match for this person. Luoho Sovereign Emperor. Lin Feng's expression changed slightly as he recognized this 3-vein sovereign emperor. It was an old acquaintance. Shao Chun also recognized Luoho Sovereign Emperor. Luoho Sovereign Emperor rode a tall mutated beast. Another person rode a mutated beast beside him, walking shoulder to shoulder. This was Luoho Yun. After recognizing Luoho Yun, it was not hard to guess Luoho Sovereign Emperor's identity. However, all this was not the important point. The important point was the Heavenly Alliance's holy relic. It was currently adorned as a crown on Luoho Yun's head. When Shao Chun saw this, he could not help breaking down. It turned out that he had been working for nothing in the past 2 months. Someone had discovered the Heavenly Alliance's holy relic long ago. However, it seemed like these people did not know how miraculous the holy relic was. Chapter 2192. The holy relic that the Heavenly Alliance was searching for was actually an ornament on Luo Hoyun's crown. Xiao Chen and Lin Feng didn't expect this at all. This meant that the sacred item had been discovered long ago. The two of them had been working hard for nothing. Lin Feng muttered, "Looks like this Luo king is also here for the ancient demonic sovereign's corpse. As a loose cultivator, you should be able to sneak in, wait for an opportunity to snatch the dart head, then leave immediately without caring about anything else." When Xiao Chen heard this, he felt somewhat helpless. Snatching the holy relic from Luo Wang's side is easier said than done. With Luo Wang's strength, even if we work together, we might not be able to defeat him. I can't care so much anymore. If you manage to snatch the relic, I'll cover for you. With our strength, it shouldn't be a problem for us to block him together. Lin Feng was very confident in his and Xiao Chen's strength. Then it settled. Xiao Chen was also a decisive person. He couldn't think of any good ideas in such a short period of time. For now, he could only do this. Lin Feng turned around and leaped into the clouds, leaving Xiao Chen alone on the demon blood vulture's back. After thinking for a while, Xiao Chen got the demon blood vulture to turn into a beam of scarlet flame and purposely flew past Luo Wang's group. Senior Xiao. Indeed, Luo Yun, who was beside Luo Wang, immediately shouted excitedly when he saw the demon blood vulture. Luo Wang had a face even more handsome than Luo Yun's. He raised his hand to stop the group from advancing. Then, he looked at the scarlet flame flying over and asked, "Yun'er, do you know that demonic cultivator?" Luo Yun nodded and said, "Father, this is the senior Xiao that I told you about. I met him by chance on the underworld boat. Unexpectedly, we met again here. I wonder if he heard me calling out to him?" Luo Wang thought for a while before saying, "The final blood battlefield is currently a gathering place. It is not surprising that this demonic cultivator is here. With his cultivation, he should have heard your voice. As for whether or not he will come to see you, that's hard to say." Luo Yun rejoiced. "In that case, Senior Xiao will definitely come." Luo Wang shook his head, but he smiled and did not say anything. Devil cultivators were usually cold-blooded people who killed without batting an eyelid. How could they really have any friendship with you? Even if he came, it would be because of me, King Luo. Xiao. The scarlet flame flashed, and the demon blood vulture carrying Xiao Chen flew back. "Father, I told you. Senior Xiao will definitely return," Luo Yun said joyfully, appearing very excited. "King, should we stop him?" Luo Wang slightly waved his hand and said, "Let him come over." Divine Vein Realm's sovereign emperor experts would attract attention no matter where they went. If this person didn't have any special background and was willing to join his team, he would have a higher chance of success. Under the cloak, Xiao Chen exchanged glances with Luo Wang and said in a deep voice, "This Xiao greets Luo Wang and young Master Luo." Luo Wang smiled faintly and said, "Your eyes are pretty good. I heard from my son that you are a demonic Dao loose cultivator. What is your purpose in coming to this final blood battlefield?" Xiao Chen replied calmly, "I don't think I need to report my purpose in coming here to King Luo. How dare you not answer King Luo's question?" A guard below immediately scolded, dissatisfied with Xiao Chen's attitude. "Where does that insignificant sovereign personage get the courage to scold me?" Xiao Chen snorted coldly. Dyed by his demonic Dao veritable essence energy, the snow god whip instantly coiled around this person's neck like a pitch-black venomous snake. Xiao Chen gently whipped the whip, wrapping it around the guard. Then, he smashed the guard heavily to the ground. This guard grabbed the whip with both hands, wanting to undo it. However, his body instantly got sealed in ice, unable to move. Clang! All of a sudden, the Azura guards tensed up. They drew their weapons and released killing chi. Their auras locked onto Xiao Chen, waiting for Luoho Wang to give the order to attack. Luoho Yun had never seen such a lineup before. Furthermore, he had never seen Xiao Chen make a move before. Unexpectedly, Xiao Chen was so strong. The sovereign personage guards that Luoho Yun normally found incredibly strong actually could not last one move against Xiao Chen. Luoho Yun was too shocked, somewhat at a loss. On the other hand, the two sovereign emperor experts beside Luoho Wang remained calm and indifferent. How dare you? What have I taught you normally? When a sovereign emperor speaks, you are not qualified to interrupt. Put away your weapons, Luoho Wang shouted. King Luoho barked, and the group of guards hurriedly sheathed their weapons. When Xiao Chen saw the situation, he heaved a sigh of relief. In this rundown place, no one would listen to you or believe you if you spoke nicely. You directly showed your strength. The stronger you were, the more people would respect you and trust you. It looked like Xiao Chen had made the right bet. Otherwise, if this group of people started fighting, he would not be able to remain in this final blood battlefield. After removing the seal on the Azura guards, Xiao Chen casually waved his hand, and the whip sent that guard back to his mount. Because he wanted to meet Luoho Wang, Xiao Chen had already changed the dart head of the Snow God whip replica to avoid attracting the other party's attention. When Luoho Wang saw the Snow God whip, he did not think much of it. After all, it was just a peak Dao tool. What Luoho Wang truly valued was Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen was arrogant, unruly, and ruthless. If not on account of Luoho Wang, the person who shouted at him would have died already. Meeting this person here should just be a coincidence. After all, Luoho Wang's group set off with light equipment, bringing only 2 sovereign emperors and many sovereign personages. Yet, they arrived at the final blood battlefield in one day. If the other party knew about this in advance, that would be too terrifying. Furthermore, when Yun-Er first came into contact with the other party, it was Yun-Er who took the initiative to seek out the other party. I will take my leave first. Originally, I was curious about why young Master Luoho came to this final blood battlefield. Now, I understand after seeing Luoho Wang. After saying that, Luoho Wang turned and left, not lingering. Father, why did you not leave him behind? Luoho Yun could not help grumbling. My king, this person should be a loose cultivator who came to the final blood battlefield to try his luck. However, he probably underestimated the divine might of the demonic sovereign corpse and did not gain anything. Since he is a loose cultivator, he should be useful if we offer him great benefit. The 2 sovereign emperor subordinates sent a voice projection to Luoho Wang, giving him their suggestion. Loose cultivators valued benefit. As long as there were sufficient benefits, one could keep the other party around and use him. Luoho Wang entered deep thought. Then, his figure flashed. In the next moment, he suddenly appeared before Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen feigned shock. He asked seriously, King Luoho, what is the meaning of this? Luoho Wang smiled and said, Mr. Xiao, don't overthink. I want to make a deal with you. If you are willing, I can give you an inferior grade soul tool. Or 50,000 kilograms of origin liquid. You can choose. Xiao Chen's expression changed slightly. He asked sullenly, Could it be that you want me to scout ahead? Too many factions are targeting the ancient demonic sovereign corp. If I go, I will just be seeking death. Even if you give me 10 soul tools, I will not go. Luoho Wang said seriously, Don't worry. I just want you to protect my son. Consider this 25 kilograms of origin liquid a deposit. After saying that, Luoho Wang tossed a jade bottle to Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen casually caught it. After thinking for a while, he nodded slightly and said, If it is just to protect young Master Luoho, this deal is doable. Good. It's a deal, then. After the matter is over, I will definitely reward you greatly. Whoosh! After a while, Luoho Wang and Xiao Chen returned to the group. Then, Luoho Wang said softly, Mr. Xiao will be traveling with us from now on. Everyone, do not be rude to Mr. Xiao. If the two lords and I are not around, you will have to listen to Mr. Xiao. Luo Wang's orders confused these sovereign personage guards. However, they still obeyed. Let's go. Give Mr. Xiao a savage beast. Riding on Luo Wang's mutated beasts, Xiao Chen and the others quickly headed for the ancient demonic sovereigns group. Xiao Chen discovered that the three sovereign emperors, including Luo Wang, appeared very anxious. As they rushed, they kicked up dust clouds. This appeared somewhat strange, raising suspicions. This Luo Wang seemed to fear that someone else would snatch away the ancient demonic sovereign's corpse before him. There were only 3 sovereign emperors in Luo Wang's group. Clearly, they were traveling light, not wanting to startle the other 3 Azura kings and other stronger factions. In the middle of the night, Luo Wang and the other 2 sovereign emperors went out to scout, wanting to see the ancient demonic sovereign's corpse. Xiao Qin took this opportunity to ask Luo Yun, "Young Master Luo, this final blood battlefield is so dangerous. Why did your father bring you here?" Luo Yun smiled and replied, "I begged him to come. Father said that it would be good for me to see the world. However, you don't have to worry about my safety. The crown on my head is a peak defensive soul tool that Father forged for me. Even if a sovereign emperor charged over, I would be able to protect myself." When Xiao Chen heard that, he naturally did not believe it. Even Luo Wang might not be able to control the situation here. Unless the older generation experts of the Luo clan made a move, they might be able to control the situation. However, that would definitely startle the older generation experts of the other factions. At that time, the factions near the ancient demonic sovereign's corpse would be even more chaotic. However, under the cloak, Xiao Qin saw the Heavenly Alliance holy relic on Luo Yun's crown. This was an opportunity to take the holy relic and flee far away. Chapter 2193. This was indeed a chance to take away the Heavenly Alliance's holy relic. However, it was too risky. Luo Wang did not know when he would return. If the group of sovereign personage guards delayed him for even a moment, he would be in big trouble. After thinking for a while, Xiao Chen chose to give up. He changed the topic and started chatting with Luo Yun. After a while, Luo Wang and the 2 accompanying sovereign emperors rushed back. Xiao Chen rejoiced that he had not chosen to make a move. The situation is not good. There are really many experts. Luo Wang and the 2 sovereign emperors discussed the situation. They frowned heavily and did not look optimistic. Unexpectedly, the Rakshasa race and the Yiksha race are here. However, fortunately, we did not expose ourselves. Luo Wang revealed a faint smile as confidence flashed in his eyes. As long as the other 3 Azura kings do not come, this ancient demonic sovereign's true god flame will most likely be mine. Xiao Chen felt somewhat suspicious when he heard that. Luo Wang should not have much desire for the true god flame. The most valuable thing about the true god flame was the expert's inheritance it contained. Furthermore, Luo Wang already possessed the strength of a 3-veined sovereign emperor. If Luo Wang received another inheritance, it would be hard to guarantee that it would not conflict with the Luo clan's original inheritance. At that time, Luo Wang would have to make a decision about whether to give up on his cultivation or not. The gains might not make up for the losses. Moreover, he was already old enough. It was hard to say if he would have enough time to cultivate a new inheritance. Or rather, Luo Wang would only be able to accomplish this much in his lifetime. At best, he would be a 6-veined sovereign emperor. Obtaining the true god flame would be a waste, unable to bring out its greatest value. Of course, perhaps Luo Wang only cared about the divine might and soul energy contained in the true god flame, which could strengthen his divine seal. However, was there a need to take such a huge risk just to strengthen his divine seal? Luo Wang only brought 2 sovereign emperors. Clearly, he wanted to make a sudden move, taking out the true god flame without startling the other 3 Azura kings. Xiao Qin looked around and fixed his gaze on Luo Hoyun. Then, his eyes lit up. Suddenly, he understood something. If he left the true God Flame's inheritance to Luo Hoyun, everything would be different. Luo Hoyun was young, no more than 20 years old, but he was already a star venerate. Talent, comprehension ability, and bloodline went without saying. If he could obtain this great opportunity, it would be like ascending to the heavens in a single step, and his future would be limitless. No wonder Luoho Wang dared to take the risk of bringing only 2 sovereign emperors, traveling light. Mr. Xiao, take this. As Luoho Wang's thoughts wandered, he took out a black talisman and handed it to Xiao Qin. This is for hiding. We will be heading to where the ancient demonic sovereign's corpse is in 4 hours. Are the people of the Xuewu dynasty already impatient and are about to make a move? Xuewu dynasty. Yes, this group of people seems to be determined to obtain the corpse of the ancient demon monarch. However, since the corpse has appeared in the 9th underworld, this group of demonic cultivators is destined to be one-sided. When Xiao Qin heard this, he was slightly startled. He looked into the distance, where the ancient demonic monarch's monstrous divine might condensed into a majestic figure. Was he finally going to get close? Although Xiao Qin had been in the final blood battlefield for a long time, he had not truly gotten close to the demonic sovereign's corpse. At that time, there is no need for Mr. Xiao to make a move. Mr. Xiao just needs to protect my son, Luoho Wang said seriously as he looked at Xiao Qin. Luoho Yun smiled and said, Father, go in peace. With Senior Xiao around, I will definitely not be in any danger. Luoho Yun was very confident in Xiao Qin. He was even more confident in his father. Be it his father or Xiao Qin, they were both unrivaled existences in Luoho Yun's heart. This little fellow simply does not understand the gravity of the matter. Luoho Wang looked at Luoho Yun with doting eyes. This time, he took the risk because of Luoho Yun. Luoho Wang wanted to give Luoho Yun a future that surpassed that of the Azura King and the Azura race. Let's go. Xiao Qin activated the black jade strip, and demonic qi immediately shrouded his entire body. His aura merged perfectly with the surroundings of the final blood battlefield. Interesting. This jade strip is really miraculous. Given this, even a faux god would find it hard to discover them. At this moment, to others, Xiao Qin's group was like the baleful aura and resentment of the final blood battlefield. Soon, the group felt the ancient demonic sovereign's horrifying might and pressure. Their footsteps slowed. Xiao Qin frowned slightly. Even in death, this fellow still possesses such divine might. How terrifying! When the group was only 5,000 kilometers away, Xiao Qin and the other sovereign emperors could already see the ancient demonic sovereign's corpse. This corpse wore scarlet battle armor, and his body was as huge as a small mountain. His eyes glared furiously as black demonic qi continuously spread out from his corpse, materializing thousands of mysterious phenomena. Many overwhelming ferocious beasts materialized by demonic qi stood around him, looking like they were alive, inspiring fear. Many factions stood 10 kilometers away from the demonic sovereign's corpse amid the demonic might, finding it hard to advance. Luoho Wang whispered to Xiao Qin, of these factions, the ones we really pay attention to are the Rakshasa race, the Yaksha race, and the Xuewu dynasty's group. The leaders of the Rakshasa race and the Yaksha race are experts under Rakshasa Tian and the Yaksha king. They are 2 vain sovereign emperors. As for the Xuewu dynasty's group, they seem to be from the royal court. If I recall correctly, the leader should be the current dynasty's 8th prince. As for the others, they are just some stragglers. There is no need to fear them. Xiao Qin entered deep thought. There seemed to be another strong faction in the surroundings. However, like Luoho Wang and the others, they were all in hiding, waiting for an opportunity to make a move. As for those stragglers, Xiao Qin felt that something was wrong. With his sharp spiritual sense, he noticed that there seemed to be people of the righteous Tao disguised as demonic cultivators among them. If Luoho Wang was overly confident and rashly made a move, the consequences might be dire. However, Xiao Chen did not dare to be certain. If he said it, Luoho Wang would suspect him, so he could only keep it to himself. At the same time, the various factions made their final preparations, waiting for the divine might of the demonic sovereign corpse to slowly weaken. The Rakshasa race group had 2 sovereign emperors and several heaven-defying sovereign personages. They stood 10 kilometers away. The Rakshasa race cultivators looked at the demonic sovereign corpse helplessly, unable to get any closer. Lord Feng Sun, we can't get any closer. The leader was a sovereign emperor with 2 divine veins. His family name was Feng Sun, and he possessed horrifying strength. As for the other sovereign emperor, his strength was ordinary. Feng Sun said after some thought, "It looks like we can only think of a way after this demonic might weakens. However, it looks like the Xuewu dynasty's people have other plans." A sovereign emperor at the side nodded and said, "They might have a holy tool that can break the demonic might. However, they do not seem confident, so they have not made a move yet." After some thought, Feng Sun said, "Let's see how capable this group of demonic cultivators of the Xuewu dynasty are." On the other side, the 2 Yiksha race sovereign emperors also looked at the Xuewu dynasty's group. Not only that, but the rogue cultivators wandering nearby and the factions hiding in the dark also looked at the group of people. Back then, Xiao Chen blinded the Xuewu dynasty's 8th Prince Li Yun in the desolate sea's Azure Mountain town, forcing him to flee in a sorry state. Now Li Yun's eyes had recovered. Not only that, but he was also a sovereign emperor. Li Yun must have cultivated in a secret realm in the demonic Dao Hall. Otherwise, his cultivation would not have increased so quickly. This time, he probably intended to take away the demonic sovereign corpse and make a comeback. "Senior Tang, are the holy tools not ready yet?" The 8th Prince Li Yun stood 10 kilometers away, showing a somewhat crazed expression as he looked at the demonic sovereign corpse. The 8th prince could feel the gazes of many sovereign emperors on his group. He smiled coldly in his heart, not minding it. Although the abyssal underworld sovereign emperors of the various races did not get along, they were still people of the abyssal underworld. But in any case, they were all from the netherworld. If they were to fight, it was obvious that they would first get rid of this group of demonic cultivators. The 8th prince had already thought of this before coming, so he did not panic. "Your Highness, it is not time yet. We are not completely confident yet. The holy tools can be used at any time. However," Li Yun asked sullenly, "however what?" This old man is still somewhat worried about whether Yen Songming's group is reliable or not. The 8th Prince Li Yun smiled and said, "There's no need to worry. Even in his dreams, this fellow wants the flood dragon humans to have a foothold. I gave him a conferred land in the central Great Realm. There is no way he could reject it. In that case, this old man can rest assured. We can use the holy tools at any time with your Highness's command." Li Yun scanned the surroundings indifferently, finally locking his gaze on the demon monarch's corpse, regardless of how many people were hiding in the dark. He did not care what the Rakshasa race and Yiksha race experts thought. As long as he used the holy tools, everything about this ancient demonic sovereign would belong to him, Li Yun. Chapter 2194. The sky of the abyssal underworld was perpetually covered in dark clouds. Light rarely shone in the final blood battlefield. It seemed like time moved more slowly in such an environment. If one could not calm down, one would easily feel restless. This was the case for the 8th prince, Li Yun. When he saw the demonic might not weaken at all, he cursed. "Damn it! Why is it still not weakening? Old Tang, I can't wait any longer. Give me the sacred tool." Clearly lacking confidence, Elder Tang said, "Your Highness, if the sacred tool forcibly breaks the demonic might, it will not last for long. If we wait for the demonic might to weaken before using the sacred tool, we will be able to obtain the demonic sovereign corpse." Wait. How long? The longer we wait, the more variables there will be. This prince has already waited for more than 2 months. I can't wait any longer. Give me the sacred tool. The 8th prince said somewhat irritably, showing rage on his face. Elder Tang sighed. After thinking about it, this made sense. The longer he waited, the more variables there would be. Taking out the sacred tool in a situation that no one expected might have a miraculous effect. After consoling himself, Elder Tang took out the sacred tool. It was a strange weapon, the Scarlet Moon, a scimitar that looked like a crescent moon. The interior of the crescent moon was very complicated, looking like a skeleton connected together. The entire moon was close to 3 meters long, looking incredibly huge. It gave off a strange demonic might. Elder Tang showed a serious expression as he started to drive the Scarlet Moon. The divine characters on the skeleton seemed to come to life. Soon after, blood seeped out of the crescent moon. The entire moon looked like an ancient ferocious beast coming to life. Roar! In that instant, everyone in the entire final blood battlefield heard a terrifying, ferocious roar in their hearts. This is? Xiao Chen's body trembled slightly as shock flashed in his eyes. As he looked in the 8th prince's direction, he saw a scarlet moon slowly rising. At this moment, nearly all the factions in the final blood battlefield looked over. Indeed, he brought out the Xiuwu dynasty's sacred tool, the Scarlet Moon. Lu Ho Wang muttered, not showing much surprise in his eyes. Scarlet Moon? What is that? A sovereign emperor at the side asked, feeling confused. Lu Ho Wang said softly, the dynasty's sacred tool is refined using a secret technique. I heard that the entire Xiuwu dynasty refined only 10 of them. For a short period of time, it can make this saint tool reach the might of a peak medial grade soul tool. While Luoho Wang was speaking, the 8th prince also made his move. He pushed the blood-colored crescent wheel with all his might. Boom! The dazzling blood-colored divine energy turned into crescent scimitars that forcefully split apart the demonic might and carved out a path. So, Li Yun's figure flashed, and the originally insurmountable barrier was broken. In an instant, he advanced 100 meters. The Xiuwu dynasty experts behind quickly followed, not moving an inch. Following Li Yun's forceful breakthrough, the originally flourishing demonic might weakened slightly. Even with the blazing demonic might, it was hard to avoid being affected. Should we make a move? A Rakshasa sovereign emperor asked Feng Sun. Clearly, these people could no longer sit still as they watched Li Yun slowly approach the demonic sovereign's court. Feng Sun crossed his arms and replied indifferently, "There's no rush. The demonic might has not weakened to the point where we can make a move. When he is halfway there, we should be able to make a move. If that is all he is capable of, he can forget about snatching away the demonic sovereign's court." Undercurrents immediately surged. An overwhelming aura accumulated in the dark. Once it erupted, it would be earth-shattering. Xiao Chun did not care about this. He was thinking, where is this brat Lin Feng hiding? Xiao Chun looked around and did not discover Lin Feng. He did not have any talisman to hide his aura. However, when Xiao Chun thought about it, he realized that this fellow comprehended the horrifying death Great Tao. It would not be impossible for him to hide in this final blood battlefield. Actually, Xiao Chun had never considered this question. Would Lin Feng be interested in this demonic sovereign's corpse? If Lin Feng was interested, then this game of Go would be even more interesting. All the experts present, both in the open and in the dark, felt very tense. Only Xiao Chun remained as calm as still water, appearing indifferent. Luoho Wang, who was at the side, slowly showed a grave expression on his handsome face. His hands trembled slightly. The silly prince, Luoho Yun, seemed to sense this atmosphere as well. His originally cheerful mood slowly turned somewhat tense. No matter how stupid Luoho Yun was, even a fool could sense that the atmosphere was unusual. Luoho Yun seemed to already know that this operation was not as simple as bringing him here to broaden his horizons. "Father, Yun'er is a little afraid. In reality, Luoho Yun's expression turned somewhat unsightly when the 8th prince took out the sacred tool. Luoho Yun was the weakest here. The instant that sacred tool appeared, even Shao Chun felt fear in his heart. What more an insignificant star venerate like him? Only sovereign emperors could participate in this game of Go. Sovereign personages could barely be considered cannon fodder. Star venerates could not even be considered cannon fodder, just air. Luoho Wang revealed a smile on his tense face. He said softly, "Don't be afraid. Your father is here. Furthermore, with Mr. Shao around, no one can hurt you." Luoho Yun seemed to understand. He asked sullenly, "Father, what are you going to do later?" Luoho Wang stared at the ancient demonic sovereign corpse and said, "I'm going to fulfill my promise to your dead mother. Just wait in peace. Father will return after killing them. Your Majesty, we will definitely protect little prince's safety to the death." The group of sovereign personage guards said in unison, sounding somewhat solemn. Shao Chun sighed in his heart. "You are just a group of cannon fodder. If something really happens, it will be hard for you not to die." Luoho Wang felt somewhat helpless. As he looked at the group of sovereign personage guards, some words did not need to be said. With just one look, everyone understood. This group of guards also knew that they were cannon fodder. At best, they would only give Luoho Yun more time to flee. However, they still followed willingly. Such loyalty was hard to come by. "Mr. Shao." Luoho Wang shifted his gaze and fixed it on Shao Chen. Shao Chen did not wait for Luoho Wang to finish. He said seriously, "Luoho Wang, don't worry. Lu's cultivators value benefit. I will definitely do my best to fulfill my promises. In that case, I'll leave it to Mr. Shao. This is the remaining origin liquid. If you can return, come to my residence. I will give you an inferior-grade soul tool." Luoho Wang handed over a jade bottle containing another 10 tons of origin liquid. "Your Majesty, they are going to attack." The 2 sovereign emperors at the side, who had been watching the situation closely, said softly. Luoho Wang's expression immediately changed. After handing the jade bottle to Shao Chen, he focused all his attention on Li Yun, who was about to reach the ancient demonic sovereign corpse. Heavenly Cloud Dawn Chop. Evil Wind Palm. Breaking Blood Sword. At the same time, the sovereign emperor experts of the Rakshasa race and the Yaksha race attacked first. The loose cultivators roaming the surroundings also attacked at this moment. In that instant, 10-odd sovereign emperors launched their attacks at the same time. Rumble. Immediately, all sorts of Dao domains clashed. Thousands of mysterious phenomena appeared, causing the sky to change color and the ground to tremble. Shao Chun felt the talisman concealing his aura being affected. The baleful aura that he gave off rippled chaotically. However, at this moment, even if there was some chaos, it would not matter. No one paid attention to them at all. The scene of 10-odd sovereign emperors attacking at the same time was too shocking. Even for Shao Chen, this was his first time seeing this, which shocked him slightly. The Tao might containing a divine nature appeared at the same time, temporarily suppressing the ancient demonic sovereign's overwhelming demonic might. Ha 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 ha. When facing so much pressure, Li Yun, who had the sage tool hovering above his head, did not panic. Instead, he laughed. His laughter contained lofty sentiments and hot-bloodedness. He said loudly, "Senior Tang, bring people to retrieve the demonic sovereign corpse's parts and essence blood. Leave the true god flame to me. I will deal with these people." The sage tool's might rose another level, reaching its peak. It burst out with the might of a medial-grade soul tool. However, this was not the most horrifying thing. The most horrifying thing was that Li Yun's bloodline was perfectly compatible with that sage tool. It was like a medial-grade soul tool bringing out 80% of its might. Li Yun relied on the Xiuwu dynasty's sage tool to block 10-odd sovereign emperors by himself. "I have been waiting for you for a long time already. No matter who comes today, don't think of stopping me from obtaining this demonic sovereign corpse. I will reign supreme under the blood moon. After blocking 10 odd sovereign emperors, Li Yun laughed somewhat arrogantly, his laughter filled with cockiness. Feng Sun and the other 2 vain sovereign emperors gritted their teeth in anger. This Li Yun was nothing in their eyes. However, the sage tool's might was too strong. Even though they were 2 vain sovereign emperors, they could only barely block Li Yun's attack. Everything proceeded according to Li Yun's plan. Suddenly, winds and clouds blew, and the aura of a ruler surged out. Lu Ho Wang revealed himself, riding a bloodthirsty savage beast and holding a golden saber as he rushed over. Scatter! Those who block me will die. Lu Ho Wang's strength as a 3-vain sovereign emperor stood at the top. He led his 2 sovereign emperor subordinates and charged forward, sweeping through everything in his way. No one dared to block him. Lu Ho Wang. It's Lu Ho Wang. Why is he here? Damn it. Why is he here instead of guarding his conferred land? Damn it. Is this fellow crazy? A person's name was like a tree's shadow. The moment Lu Ho Wang, one of the 4 Azura kings, appeared, he shocked everyone, attracting everyone's attention.